away. But a brilliant start from Pero, who is pointed virtually straight down the track. Wayne Gardner, how long does it take to get the brain into gear now?
Well, I suppose the first thing you'd probably try and do is settle down. Your first starter was the most tense time, was actually running across, hoping the bike is going to start getting going and getting away to a good clean start. Now you're just trying to settle down and think about, you know, read the tachos and just pulling gear changes right, also braking points right. So now probably the first or two lap or second lap is just settling down time, and then the times start reading off from there.
It's Honda from Yamaha from Kawasaki, because Paul Feeney has slotted the green Kawasaki into third position, but it's Pero leading Magee.
Yeah, as I said, you know, the first lap, some guys really go for it. Some like to put in real fast times on the first, second lap, but the best way I found is to just settle down the first and second lap and then start reeling the times off and be smooth and consistent, and that's when usually good wins and good results come.
John Pace on 2, but out front on 4, Ian Pero, Kevin Magee following, swooping onto the main straight now. Quick look over his back, says he felt much better after a real dice with Robbie Phillips in the final round of the Western Underwriters Superbikes at Winton. And he completes his first lap, and he's 0.69 of a second in front of Magee.
They're not hanging around, are they? They're certainly trying on the,
They're
on the
whistling.
second lap, yeah. Better them than me for today.
And there's Paul Feeney. He's in third place, but I think he's just about lost it to Malcolm Campbell, slicing down the inside. It was 129 kilometres an hour average from the standing start for lap 1, and Magee's hauling him in.
Neil Chivas leads the series on 28 points, and he needs to be up there with the leaders, because if he drops back, he's going to be in heaps of trouble against Magee in second place at the moment, because Magee's the man who stands to win the series if he can finish in front of Chivas.
Malcolm Campbell's pulled himself up to third, and he's pulling away from Feeney, who's gone from third very nearly back to fifth, but grimly hangs on to fourth. And the man hassling him on 1 was Rod Cox for Matic Racing.
He's actually starting to ride very, very good now. He's improving all the time, which is great to see.
Yes, well, of course, Rod's a former 6-hour winner.
That's right.
And he's had a pretty muddled season. Hasn't been a happy one for Rod, but the field compressing, because the leading pair being hauled in by Malcolm Campbell, and in fact there really is a string of almost 10, but probably separated by only about 5 seconds. 0.6 of a second to Magee, and about the same to Campbell in third place.
There's not a lot in it, I'll tell you. It's very, very close and tight at the moment.
And the man that we spoke about, Neil Chivas, is in fact back in 11th position, which after all is only about 4 seconds separation, but nonetheless 11th position is not the place perhaps even Neil would like to be this early in the event.
And almost down to the lap record time, an 18.36, 146.9 kilometres an hour on lap 2, first flying lap.
As I said, that's when the times start reeling off on the second lap, third and fourth. That's when they start really trying and putting in big efforts to actually try and pull times on other people behind us. So well, they're trying very hard now. Well,
in fact, Magee's trying very hard, because I'd say he's just about equal the lap record. Look at what he's doing to the leader, Pero. I get the feeling, Wayne Gardner, with Kevin Magee headed to Sugo circuit to race there next weekend, that he's a man you might see somewhere in the international scene, if not yet next year, the year after. Very quick and very determined.
Well, I was very impressed with him at Suzuki this year. He had a lot slower machine than I did, but through a lot of the tight corners he was riding exceptionally well, and there was nothing in it between us.
And here comes Mal Campbell up alongside Magee, holding him on the inside down under the Dunlop Bridge. Magee up past him and now forced out wide, so that he actually entered the Dunlop Bridge on the outside of Ian Pero. Not a nice place to be, Wayne Gardner.
No, rather him than me.
Malcolm Campbell's made up a sensational amount of time as well. A slightly slower lap, that one, 18.99, but that's slower for the race leader, but certainly not for the pair behind Magee and Campbell.
The Honda seems to have the legs over the Yamaha at the end of the straights, both times.
Wayne, if you're a bit horrified at that fall of Robbie Phillis's at Oran Park, it was as nothing compared with Kevin Magee's fall last weekend at Calder, which is about 50 kilometres an hour faster. Happily, he didn't run into anything.
No, that's the main thing. I mean, most injuries only happen if you hit something such as a wall or an Armco fence or something like that. But if there's nothing around to hit, then most times you just slide off, and probably the worst thing you could happen is you take a bit of skin off, and that's about all. So it's reasonably safe sport if there's no things to hit.
Magee up on the ripple strips that time round, trying to get a slingshot onto the straight.
Yeah, he's going to try and streamline him in the straight.
And here he comes, just as Wayne said, down the inside of Ian Perro.
Yeah.
And the race has a new leader, but will he hold it under the bridge? Yes, he does.
And getting into the next bunch is another of the Dayglow orange bikes. It's Michael Dowson. He's 5th now, sweating on Paul Feeney. You saw the green leathers just go through then.
Perro down the inside under brakes. Gets the line.
I think if Kevin can hold him off until down the bottom corners, I think he might actually pull away a little bit.
Rod Cox getting with them. And with him too is Michael Dowson and Paul Feeney. So it's a 5-way freight train.
Certainly is.
Lap 5. 3.2 kilometres around, so 16 kilometres covered, 3 hours in front of them. Last year, 409.6 kilometres in the 3 hours, averaging, with pit stops, 136.5 kilometres an hour. That's 128 laps. Paul Feeney there in the Kawasaki.
That's a fast day's work.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
The only thing we don't have in there at the moment is a Suzuki. We've got Yamahas and Honda and Kawasaki.
I think the Kawasaki's at the tail end of that bunch.
And in fact, the first Suzuki is Neil Chivas, now up into 9th position.
But in front of that 7th is Wayne Clark on 11.
Now, in fact, Chivas just passed 11 down the straight. Well,
It'll be good if the race finishes as it started. It'll be a real good race for to the flag.
Yes, well, several riders said yesterday, you can't pick a winner. You really can't.
No.
You could nominate 6 people and say, well, how do you sort them out? And that's what they're doing at the moment, sorting out.
Well,
the tactics, Wayne, are interesting. Honda is going to come in just over the hour mark, not running to the end of their tank range. Fresh tyre on and hammer the whole time.
I think that's really the name of the game now, is to have the best tyres and as good a tyres as possible. That means changing every hour and also not running over time. Best to stop it right on the dot.
Well, look what Rod Cox has done. Michael Dowson too. He's in with them on M1 it's meant to be, but the Dayglow orange bike won. And then there's this number 1, black and white, fairly easy to distinguish, Rodney Cox.
He's trying hard. The bike's
sure
wiggling
is.
under the back straight there.
.19 seconds separates the first 5. It's not far back to Paul Feeney. That's Cox and then Michael Dowson. And 6th, Paul Feeney in the green leathers. And then 7th is Chivas in the blue leathers. Now the lead Suzuki. And that was an 18.8, 146 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, that's fast. They're just going through my favourite corner.
here comes Malcolm Campbell down the inside. Takes over 2nd position.
Wayne, I think you'd be the first to admit that for somebody like Malcolm Campbell, it's very hard to get your brain into gear to try to the maximum as he goes at Kevin Magee for the lead. Very hard to take a production bike to the limit when really you've been on superbikes and Grand Prix bikes.
Yes, it takes a little bit of time to settle in. That's basically why I've given it a miss this year, riding production machines, and it is hard to change back, but Malcolm's sort of fairly talented in that way, and he can actually change the machines. He's fairly versatile, so I'll say, you know, superbikes are a lot the same now as the street bike, so there's not a lot in there, I don't think, so he's pretty lucky.
Yeah, street bikes are becoming closer to superbikes.
Well, yeah, vice versa, that's right.
So it's Magee with Campbell ranging up on his right-hand side and hitting the lead. He crossed the start-finish line in front. Honda, Malcolm Campbell, the 2nd of the Hondas to lead the race, spears through in that exhilarating sweep under the bridge where yesterday he said, I was doing Wayne Gardner's. I was getting it sideways and laying rubber.
Yeah, well, you can do it, as I say. The production machines are getting like racing machines now, and they're producing a lot of power. The tyres are becoming very good, and also the steering and handling of the bikes are improved vastly over the year, which has come down through racing machines. So they are nearly a super bike on the racetrack as a production bike.
Lapping Nigel Bryan on 33.
And a fierce crosswind starting to arise at Surfers Paradise International Raceway, which will start to buffet the riders both down the back straight and, of course, on the main straight where it's blowing right across on top of them. and that can make riding very uncomfortable for these riders over a 3-hour distance.
Actually, the weather looks a bit grim right over the other side there. Looks like it could rain, but...
It's been looking like that, but the local experts say it blows through the valley and it funnels through here and it'll just pass by. So they say, won't rain. It certainly does look like it.
It's humid enough for it, that's for sure, but it's a good question.
Mind you, the local experts also brought their raincoats with them.
Yeah, that's right.
Campbell moving away from Magee, from Rod Cox third. Ian Perot, the initial race leader, fourth. Michael Dowson fifth. Still Paul Feeney and the Kawasaki sixth. Chivas getting up with them in seventh on the Suzuki. You'll see him there. But he's not very far behind either. There's a whole brace of Suzukis, mostly from Action Suzuki. So 7, 8 and 9 for Suzuki. There. And in very close company indeed.
Yes,
and that's the second fastest lap of the race just completed, an 18.45.
Yeah, so they're certainly trying hard, especially, as I said, to try and pull some distance between each rider. As you can see, they're starting to spread themselves out a bit now and settle down.
I think Malcolm Campbell's trying to say to young Kevin Magee, this is what I can do. I might be a few years older, but try and catch me.
Well, Malcolm's pretty hard, and, you know, he's a hard rider, and he does put in some fast times, but sometimes he does overdo things a little bit.
Looking at Perot, fourth place. And then his teammate, Honda Australia, V4 Honda, 750 cc's only, 4-cylinder across the frame on the Yamaha, 5 valves per cylinder, and they're doing 240 kilometres an hour in top gear as they loop off to go under the Dunlop Bridge. And there's 2 seconds between the first 5.
There's not a lot in speed now between the Yamaha and Honda, is there, in straight line speed and acceleration? They're very, very closely matched motorcycles. Is that Coxie in third now?
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Rod Cox.
As I said, he's getting better and better, that guy.
He's
improving all the time.
Got Kevin Magee.
Yeah, he just has.
Kevin will go down the inside, but he can't do anything about it. So that's a really interesting development.
Actually, Kevin's dropping back quite a bit. Maybe he has a problem with the machine, or I don't really know.
Yeah, Cox has gone through and made some quite significant ground on him.
Maybe it could be possibly tyres or something.
Well, there's a bit of a tyre shortage, in fact.
Yeah.
Chris Mattich, the Pirelli importer, hasn't got the shipment that he wanted.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously got them on his bike, but he couldn't give them to Warren Willing for testing earlier in the week. So Warren wasn't able to test the tyres that he wanted, the new Pirelli Demons.
An old Yamaha team running on Bridgestone tyres this weekend, in fact. They say there's nothing wrong with the tyres. In fact, Magee, of course, won the Hub 300 on it on Bridgestone's earlier this year.
And the Honda bikes running on Michelin.
Yes, the Michelins have actually, what they are nearly is a racing tyre. That what I use on the Grand Prix machine is, they said to me, they've nearly used exactly the same tyre and compounds as they do on a road machine now. So it's basically come from racing bikes.
Yes.
And I can tell you how good their racing tyres are. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes, they really are the tyre to have in Grand Prix racing
without
these
a doubt,
days.
yeah.
Hardly anybody running on anything else, and certainly not winning races.
Well, that's right. I mean, I don't think anybody else has won a World Championship but Michelin this year. So they really have stepped, big steps forward over the last couple of years in radial design and also tyre compounds and structures.
As we look here at this battle for second place, Cox trying to clear on Kevin Magee, he being caught by his teammate Michael Dowson, a man a little bit miffed by having been riding Yamahas and associated with them for longer than Magee, but by missing out on the Formula One ride at the Sugo circuit next weekend, it being offered to the younger team member, Kevin Magee. Campbell, there you see the first 4, and just coming into frame was the 5th place, Ian Perot. They've completed 12. Then it's Feeney, then it's Chivas.
Chivas is coming up through slowly.
And in fact, Robert Holden is also coming up right through the field. In fact, he's supplanted Chivas, is in front of him at the moment, and that makes a very interesting point situation. Holden currently lies 3rd in the series on 23 points, only 1 point behind Kevin Magee.
And Ian Swift is getting into the bunch too on 8. And the second Mattich bike is John Pace on number 2. So they're all in the top 10.
But just to get it in early, of course, Will, it's a bit early yet to get worried about Ian Swift after all the race is not often to the Swift.
They threw a coin, actually, in their team. Ian Swift and Neil Robinson, and Swift won the toss. They did identical times in practice, so Swift will do 2 stints and Robinson the middle one.
I tell you what, Wayne, Magee's bike is really moving around at the back end.
Yeah, that's probably, as I said, he's having tyre problems. That's probably why he's dropping back from Malcolm. So, but then again, it's a long race. It's 3 hours, and I don't think it's a lot to worry just at the moment. He's hanging with him. He's not losing like seconds a lap, so I'm sure he'll be right there at the end.
In fact, the thing that I've noticed in Kevin Magee's riding in recent times, at the Arrow 500 at Bathurst, the Denso down at Winton Circuit recently, was that Kevin Magee these days is relaxed about letting somebody go out a few seconds, and he'll haul them in later if he wants to. Well, he doesn't have to sprint and to lead every lap.
Well, I think that's a sign of maturity. His experience he's gaining over the years now, and it's exactly how I did when I first began. I was a sort of really, balls out ride. I really had to try everything and give everything I had. And then I started realising you don't have to do it that way. You just have to study and understand it and put your brain into gear and use that rather than actual riding ability. And that's what usually can happen. You can usually win that way quite a lot.
In the middle of the bunch there on 32, John Bastermeyer, John Waller, Steve McMillan, actually, the 2 riders sharing number 32.
Only 6.5 seconds separates the top 9 riders. And that's back to John Pace on the second of the Matic Yamahas.
Looks like Kevin Magee and Dowson are pulling each other along, so it's a good team ride. That's very good.
And the other one thinking in that bunch too and looking after his bike and himself would be Ian Perro on 4.
Yeah.
To second place, it's 1 second, and about the same back to that battling bunch there, which is being joined by Neil Chivas. Robert Holden, 7, not Chivas. Holden's the one forging forward on the Suzuki. Chivas not feeling so well this morning.
Chivas is in fact 2 places behind. Holden is in 6th position at the moment and has joined the bunch. Holden, of course, nursing a wrist which was broken a few meetings ago at Oran Park.
Couple of bones, and also, and perhaps significantly, on the limited edition Suzuki. Dry clutch instead of wet clutch, longer rear swing arm than the others, and he says, in fact, it doesn't work so well because it puts more leverage on the damper.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a different bike.
And, of course, it has more fuel consumption, 21 litres to the 19 of the normal edition.
Capacity.
Capacity, yes. There he is there.
He's a very hard charger, Robert Holden. Very good rider indeed.
Actually, I've admired him a couple of races I've watched on video in New Zealand, and he's done very, very well, and I think he rides that superbike unbelievable, and I think he's a very underrated rider.
Yes, he is a bit.
I'd like to see him get a good break in some sort of good team, possibly for next year. It'd be good to see.
Well and truly in the middle of the traffic now is Rod Cox, Kevin Magee, Michael Dowson. And as you can see, Holden and Perro. Holden past Perro.
And then just behind that bunch, Chivas and Feeney are having a mighty set too. Feeney on the new 750cc Kawasaki. Chivas on his old faithful Suzuki, except it's a brand new faithful Suzuki, ridden for the first time this weekend. There's 380 kilometres on the clock.
Good battle, this. Yamahas, all of them. Magee down the inside of Cox, who slices across his bows.
He's not going to let him go, is he?
No, he's not. And of course, the following rider's reaction to that is different depending on what part of the race we're in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Not much point in being arguing and refusing to give way at this stage of a 3-hour race.
No, as I said, it's a long way to go.
Kevin Magee, well aware of 2 things, of hitting the back wheel of Malcolm Campbell's bike last weekend at Calder, while Flat Biscuit in top gear and just dropping. And then that, of course, he wants to be very fit for next weekend. Yeah. A big chance at Sugo. This bunch, in 2nd place Magee, 3rd place Cox, 4th place Michael Dowson, 5th place Holden, and 6th place Perro. 1.8 seconds behind the race leader, Malcolm Campbell.
Yeah, you can see what's happening now. These for second, third, fourth and fifth place, they're dicing and changing positions that much. They're actually slowing each other up. And Malcolm's got a good clear run, which was good thinking earlier on, is to try and get clear. And he's got a nice clear road. He can get through the traffic a lot easier. Now with this bunch fighting for second and third and so on, it's, as I said, they're slowing each other up and they're finding it a lot more difficult to keep on fast times.
Oh, and can you sort out that little episode there? Robert Holden, we know, is the man in blue on the outside, but it could have been anyone's corner. Perot takes it back from Holden.
The Yamaha seem to improve their tyres. They've probably given them a rest. It's a case with racing bikes too. You can actually go easier on the tyres, and then they come good again. Then you can actually go fast again for a few more laps until they start to wear and you back off and they cool off a little bit, and then you can start trying again.
Malcolm Campbell takes his left hand off the handlebar, sits up a little bit and gives a signal to his pit crew. He has a lead of 1.9 seconds over Magee.
But look at Holden coming through right behind the Yamahas now.
And you've got John Pace up with the bunch.
Perot has a look down the inside, can't do it, backs off.
The Suzuki looks quite fast, in fact, of Robert Holden's and the Action Suzuki team.
Yes, it's going well. Sorry, it's not John Pace, of course, it's Rod Cox, who's very quickly and unceremoniously been dispatched to the back of that bunch. Ian Perot there on the first of the VF 750R Hondas that they brought out for racing. Malcolm Campbell's back, has only done a couple of races.
Campbell continues to stretch his lead. It's now out to 2.05 seconds.
Yeah, as I said, he's got a clear run and he's just put it to good use now.
How conscious are you, Wayne, of other things, wind noise and vibration and all those things that in a motor car you're fairly well shielded, but in the bike, those things all have a tiring effect.
They do, especially I think the heat is probably the main thing. I'd say at the moment all Malcolm's probably concentrating on is watching the rev counter, picking good lines and also watching for other slow riders and lap riders and picking nice fast lines and try and be smooth and keep the whole package together.
He was careful there with Mark Russell on 26, who's a very big man on that 900 Kawasaki, very tall, solidly built young chap. Race leader, Malcolm Campbell, Tasmanian, 32 years old. Some of his fellow riders say ridiculous. He's 34 or 5. Certainly been around a fair while. He's had his share of spills. He broke a leg very badly at Bathurst several years ago. It was very uncomfortable. But he rides a motorbike very hard.
Oh, and the race for second position is just unbelievable. 2.01 seconds separates them, so Malcolm lost a whole 0.4 of a second on that lap.
Traffic very thick. 39 bikes qualified yesterday.
There's your second position being contested all the way through traffic.
Some riders choosing to do it solo, particularly the ones who are in a running to win the series. Others going two up. And quite a variance of opinion as to which is the way to do it. Neil Chivas says, I have to do it solo, but I'd rather do it two up, but for the point score I have to go solo. Dowson gets held up a little bit, can't tag his teammate Kevin Magee as they come up to a lapped bike. 37, Robert Turton.
I think that's the secret of this production racing, and especially endurance type racing with 3 hours or more, is actually passing lap riders and getting through and not so much taking chances, but just being smooth in those sort of chances and doing it nice and safely.
Reading the road ahead too, isn't it? And making sure that you don't have to feather off, that you,
That's right.
you keep on the run as you come up to somebody.
It's keeping a good rolling pace and a good average up all the time.
Robert Holden down the inside of Michael Dowson for third position. Did he make it? Yes, he did. There you are, the blue and the Marlboro red behind him. So Robert Holden moves up into third position ahead of Michael Dowson on the Marlboro Yamaha.
It's hard to pick anything out of that.
And Ian Perrot's punching through into that lot too.
Yeah.
So from Campbell, Magee, Dowson, we now have, well, Holden in front of Dowson. Then we have Perrot. Then on 9, Neil Chivas. Then on 1, Rod Cox.
Sorry, you don't have Dowson behind Holden anymore, or do you? They're at it hammer and tongs. But it's Dowson who reclaims third position around the back of the circuit.
It's good to see all the manufacturers now are all similar in speed, because it does make for good racing, and that's most important, not to have one manufacturer dominating the sport completely. As you can see, the Yamaha, Suzuki and Honda are all very, very close.
Indeed, and the new Kawasaki, the GPX 750R, replacing the GPZ 900 for production racing. A bike that was about 40 kilos heavier, and a pretty critical difference.
For a bike we're really going to have to watch in the pit stops today, Will, because Neville Doyle, the team manager, is not happy about the way the axle locates in the back of the Kawasaki. Says it's very fiddly. So it could be that the Kawasaki's Achilles heel could be its tyre change in the pits.
Magee's second. This is the battle for third, with Dowson reasserting himself. Holden fourth, and the back end of the Suzuki, Wayne, looking as though it's kicking a little bit down there on the bump.
Yeah, he probably could have possibly a little bit more damper control, such as on rebound and so on under braking.
One of the Suzuki riders was telling me what they've done to try and keep the damper working at all, because it does go off on the Suzuki. They've in fact slackened it off, so they've compromised to having not so much damping early on and hoping they've got a little bit later on, and also going for lower front tyre pressure, because it starts to pitch the front end around a little bit too.
Really?
And trying to control at that.
I would say as the race goes on that the oil is getting hot in the unit, and the unit's probably working overtime, such as on production bikes, because they're heavy and they're sliding a lot. So I would have actually gone the opposite way, but I mean, every team's different in their ideas and doings.
Well, I know it goes off on the Suzuki, so I suppose they're just trying to have some sort of damping there for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Some teams have had anything up to half a dozen units in their rear end of the bike in this weekend alone. And for some of the privateers, it's something like $300 a unit. It's a very real cost.
On the Yamaha Grand Prix bikes, such as Eddie Lawson and Randy's, they've actually got adjustments for the rear unit up on the handlebar. And as they ride the bike, if it's getting a little bit too hot and it's going off, they can actually wind it up or wind it down on the handlebar. So it's quite a clever move, but production machines can't have this, and so they just have to put up with what they got.
2.47 seconds, in fact, is the split from first to second position. This man, Malcolm Campbell. Behind him is Kevin Magee.
Lapping David Bannatyne, Team Scottish Racing, number 22. Neil Masson, the 30-year-old rider on that, has got a broken bone in each foot. But he's doing the middle stint only, leaving Bannatyne on the bike for the front and tail end stint.
Well, at least with his pods evened out like that, he won't be caught on the hop, will he?
Campbell now around Nissan corner. The fast sweep onto the straight. And back to a pit signal, to the small amount of communication that he does have with his pit crew. Not much of a gap between Magee in second, back to sixth place, who is Ian Perrot. Very close company there, you can see most of them. And in front of Holden, second place Magee, third place Dowson, then fourth Holden. Coming up to Bannatyne, who's a C grader. And he's rather anxious about the traffic coming through. At least he's very conscious of it.
I'm quite surprised in places around the circuit they haven't got any hay bales up and padding. up on the Armco fence, which I think is very bad on the rider's part. They should have said something to the organisers.
It's a very relaxed atmosphere here.
I think
it's one way of putting it at Surfers Paradise.
And as one of the local experts put it to us, Wayne, there is a drought on and the cattle need it more.
Well, I mean, they could at least have some foam anyway. But yeah, I'm quite surprised. I mean, no Grand Prix riders would ride here unless it's most of the Armco is covered up, especially in braking points and so on.
Here comes Michael Dowson down the inside of his younger teammate Kevin Magee to take over second position. Comes Robert Holden behind. He can't do it.
2.95 seconds the lead of Malcolm Campbell.
Magee down the inside again, pulls back.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Holden Suzuki up into fourth position. Behind him is Neil Chivas in fifth on bike 9. That's the split there. It's not very much at all, less than a second. As now Holden moves up into third position, past Magee.
They're both trying very hard.
They sure are. You've got some very, very capable riders. It's another interesting point, Wayne, that Australia really keeps serving up some top riders, don't we? And they can go to Europe and race in things like production bikes and the what's the modified class in England? The
Superstock.
Superstock, where you had a ball for a few years, and we really can mix it with the best, can't we?
Well, as you can see, it's very, very competitive here in Australia. They're actually very hard, and they ride the machines very hard. And I think, in standard of a World Series in production race, and I'd say we've possibly got the fastest riders here in the world on production machines. But you know, put them into Grand Prix size of things, and it's a lot more difficult and harder.
They don't have the experience.
No, but the actual idea of production machines and hard racing and using these machines to their limit, they're certainly of the very highest grade.
Only 1.3 seconds separates second to sixth position, and there's only 2 seconds out to Malcolm Campbell in front of that.
Indeed, he's had his lead narrowed. And Feeney's punching up with them again too. Not far behind.
Holden now significantly closer to the back of Michael Dowson's bike.
Dowson, Holden, Magee. Second, third and fourth place.
They're all very closely matched.
They
these three.
sure are. Fifth place, Chivas. Sixth, Perro. Seventh, Team Kawasaki Australia, Paul Feeney. Eighth, Matic Racing, John Pace. In front of Rod Cox on 1, and he's followed by Neil Robinson and Ian Swift on 8.
It does look visibly like they are catching up, especially Dowson. He's using all the road, I noticed, on the corner onto the straight. He was up on the curb and back off it, so he is trying and using the full road.
And Holden doesn't want to give away that third place, no way, does he? He's over underneath anybody to keep up on it.
Yeah, I think he's trying to stay with Michael because it's actually a good tow along. You actually get towed along by the rider. Even if you're not actually as good a rider, you can actually be towed along and follow his lines, and it's a good way of actually learning.
.25 laps completed. The under 700cc class being led by bike 29, Stephen Bestwick. From bike 39, Christopher Smith. Malcolm Campbell tucked down, winding it up to maximum speed. And Wayne Gardner just a little bit of a feather as he heads under the Dunlop Bridge. Pretty exhilarating.
Yes, that's for sure. I noticed Malcolm then had a quick look at his lap board and sort of pulled his head out of the screen and read his board. So he's fully in command and understands what's happening behind him. So he's, I think, got it at the moment quite wrapped up. Not completely towards the end of the race, but at this moment he has.
He's halfway through his first riding stint. He's been riding for nearly 35 minutes. He'll be coming in just over the hour as Holden down onto Magee, challenging for second place. Not getting it, though.
He's not giving, not going to let it go, is he?
He's not finished challenging, and Dowson's bike hopping and skipping around a fair deal.
Around the outside. It's not the way.
No, it's not, but it's a bike that's allegedly where the rear end's not working very well, and the fact that he's even there suggests to me that it's not working too badly.
It certainly is working well. The Action Suzuki team is a good team, and I'm sure they've done everything possible to get the very best out of the car. It's coming in.
Kevin Magee, hand up.
Either that or
Into the pits comes Kevin Magee.
Unscheduled stop, but Magee's been the man who's been up and down through the field more than anyone else. That's him right at the end of the pits. The team entered late, so they got a very disadvantaged pit position. Warren Willing, the team manager, around the front of the motorcycle, taking a fuel stop. They're not touching tyres at all, which kind of surprises me. 19 seconds, in fact, in the pit from start to finish, and away he goes. He'll lose a lot more time as he comes down and out of the pit. Isn't that curious? He took a fuel stop at the 35-minute mark and didn't look at the tyres.
I think he must have had some sort of other problem because, as you seen, he was with Malcolm in the beginning and then he dropped back. So I don't know what it is, but I think he definitely has a problem. I guess while he was there, he thought he'd probably check on the problem and also fill up with fuel and play the race as it comes from now on.
Put him down into the 20s positions, thereabouts, losing him about something less than half a lap on Malcolm Campbell, the race leader. Robert Holden is now second. He's in front of Michael Dowson as they ride up on the curving and use that to kick them off onto line to come round onto the straight. So it's Honda from Suzuki from Yamaha in first, second and third place.
Then Suzuki again in fourth with Neil Chivas.
Honda fifth, Ian Perro. Sixth, Yamaha of John Pace up in front of Paul Feeney on the Kawasaki, who's therefore seventh. So he's the man going forward at the moment. John Pace on the Matich Racing bike number 2. Sharing it later in the race with Ben Middlemas.
I just noticed Robert then looking around at other riders behind. That's something I've tried to stop this year, is looking around, because in case something's in front of you, and also, you know, it's not the way. You're losing time looking around, and I think it's a good thing that other riders should learn, and I'm actually trying very hard to try and stop it and just read my lap board. And Eddie's perfect for that. He never looks around, and he said to me, you should never ever look around. And also Barry Sheen says the same as what happened with his big accident at Silverstone.
Well, it's interesting because it certainly is a very common thing among motorcycle race riders to look over their shoulder, see somebody where somebody is, and they usually do it in that relaxed moment when they're gunning it out of a corner, they're on line, and the bike's no longer on the limit.
Yeah, but you do actually lose time because you're concentrating and you're wondering what's happening behind you rather than what's in front of you and what you're doing on the bike.
Malcolm Campbell's lead over Robert Holden, 2.6 seconds. So the second place has changed, but the gap hasn't. And Michael Dowson has Chivas right on him. And there's Perro. And the next bike would be bike number 2. That'd be Pace. Lapped in that bunch is Dave Harris. Bill Bolton not riding bike 21 today. He's injured and not fit enough to do a long distance race.
There he goes.
Holden second again.
I'm just wondering to myself on the Magee stop whether there isn't some advantage to them taking an early stop like that and then really cracking it on in a very long second session with the need for a turn, you know, towards the end of the event.
At least they'll be doing their lap times without getting into a dice, because they'll be a little bit further back in the field, having a clear run.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you see, because Warren Willing, the team manager, is a master of tactics, and he was very, very cagey when we asked him this morning what he was going to do. He reckoned he had a grab bag of tactics that he was going to pull. I just wonder whether, in fact, there mightn't be something wrong with Magee's bike as much as it is a very unusual tactic on Warren Willing's part.
It's a long gap back.
Neil Chivas is coming through very fast at the moment.
From Perro, but a long gap from that bunch. back to Perro, from Perro at least, to Pace, and then Feeney, and right on him on 8 is the Ian Swift-Neil Robinson bike.
Neil's coming up on Robert very fast and he's riding exceptionally well at the moment.
Well, interesting, because Chivas leads the series, 28 points, from Kevin Magee on 24, Robert Holden on 23, Wayne Clark, who's been fairly much out of this, on 18, Mal Campbell has 15, Len Willing's a non-starter, Ian Perro has 10, and there's 23 points up for first, 18 for second, 15 for third. So even if you're Ian Perro and you've got 10 points, if you win, you'd come up to 33, and you will have to hope for Neil Chivas getting no more than 4 or 5 to take him up to 33, 32. Here's Chivas. Everything on the Suzuki shaking and vibrating as he works it hard through there.
Actually, I was watching it through the bottom S's there, and one of the on the left before it goes right onto the straight, you can see the number plate chattering away. So he must have quite a bit of chatter from the front wheel. So he actually must be pushing the front wheel hard on the circuit.
Yes, and I think that comes from the back end again. It was what contributed to Robbie Phillips trying so hard and ultimately dumping at Oran Park when he was chasing Malcolm Campbell. The funny thing about that dice was that both riders, like just after the race, thought the other rider was going to win it. They were both on their absolute limit and thought, this other bloke's got me. And the other thought, well, this bloke's doing it easily. He's giving me a hard time. I can't hang on any longer. It was really quite funny.
I've been in those sort of situations many a time.
Just 2.96 seconds separating first place Malcolm Campbell from these dicing Suzukis. Robert Holden in the lead. Neil Chivas behind him on bike 9. Then comes Michael Dowson, 4th position on the Yamaha, Mulberry Yamaha. And Ian Perro on the Honda V4.
What a gutsy effort this is by Neil Chivas. Robert Holden on the limited edition Suzuki. Fairly different bike to the bike there that's shaking and working up and down so hard, and a man who got very little sleep last night is fairly washed out from a nasty attack of diarrhea this morning.
Gap's way down. These two Suzukis are pulling themselves along, catching Mal Campbell. The gap is 1.71 seconds. Mal Campbell back to the Suzukis.
Neil's going well. If that's what diarrhea does, then he better have it all the time. He's going very well. In fact, I've had a couple of races in Malaysia with the same sort of problem. Been up absolutely all night, and I actually fell asleep on the toilet with a pillow on my legs because I was in that bad of shape. And the next day I was so weak, and I went out and won the race. So, as you see, sometimes it works good and sometimes it doesn't.
At least you got your rest.
Well, I had to have some sort of sleep. I didn't care where it was at the time.
Malcolm Campbell, the race leader, doing a tremendous job on the Honda. Cleared away from this bunch, but being caught by Holden, by Chivas, second and third. Magee, of course, pitting just a little while ago on the Mulberry Yamaha dealer team bike that was second fastest qualifier, 1:18.0, 4/10 of a second slower than Ian Perro's fairly sensational time in qualifying that took pole position.
1.81 seconds. The gap stabilizes between first and second position.
Good stuff.
See the rear end sliding around there under the bridge.
Chris Matic, the Pirelli tyre importer, explaining that a tyre that will do 4 hours at Oran Park, a production tyre, a rear tyre, here an hour and a half, for 2 reasons. The circuit's more abrasive, temperature's generally probably a little bit up, and the wear on the tyre is almost all on the one side here, by comparison with Oran Park, where it's fairly even on both sides. So fairly accelerated tyre wear, and for any team that's travelling quickly, it's a rear tyre change every stop in this race. And even the Yamahas that last year won it and got through on one stop, fairly doubtful of being able to achieve it again today.
It's a pity actually to break up this sort of racing with items like pit stops, isn't it?
Chivas chasing Holden. and not much in it at all. Robert Holden, 1.1 seconds behind the race leader on 3, Malcolm Campbell. Michael Dowson's 4th, Perot 5th. Bit of a gap back then from Perot to number 2, John Pace, then to Paul Feeney on the Kawasaki number 6, the green bike and leathers, followed then on 8 by Ian Swift, Neil Robinson. Then on 1 is the second Matich Racing bike, Rod Cox, followed by Robbie Phillis on 11, and on 28, Trevor Manley.
Malcolm will be getting the hurry up now from his signboards.
And in the pits, bike number 1, which was in 8th place. So the Matich team bringing in one of their riders, Rod Cox, Jeff French. They altered their pairing last night, and it's a long stop too. Rear tyre, Jeff French, son of John French, the car racing man. Jeff's 30. John's about 56. They play squash together a couple of times a week. And for those interested in the James Hardy next weekend, Dick Johnson having a very relaxed dinner last night at one of the restaurants here at Surfers Paradise, and talking of coming out to the race meeting today. Had Saturday off, he and his crew. Says for the first time everything's in order with his team for Bathurst. Leaving on Monday, driving down with Greg Hansford, a whole convoy of vehicles. And a long and disastrous stop for previously 8th placed number 1, Rod Cox.
Yes, well, all the work is happening around the rear end of the bike. It's finally off its stand and away, but it's lost 1 minute, 7 seconds. Now, given that an average stop should take about 20 seconds, that is a real disaster, because what they've done is given away virtually 3 other stops. In other words, they've lost the race right there.
Certainly have. I don't think there's much of a chance now of catching up, not unless something drastically happens to everybody else in the race.
Something drastic might happen to Malcolm Campbell fairly shortly if the Suzuki pairing's got anything to do with it, as Malcolm absolutely tears through the field, flies underneath the big Mark Russell on 26.
Yeah,
and Malcolm is not wasting time at all.
Robert's got him in his sights now, and he's
it's about half a second.
Yeah, there's nothing in it now. Well, you can see him, you can visually see the distance that he is closing, so he'd be getting quite excited and quite determined too now.
So Malcolm Campbell coming under pressure. No mirrors, of course, to tell him what's going on.
Except when he looks around.
And we've seen Honda lead, we've seen Yamaha lead. We might be about to see Suzuki lead. Certainly if Robert Holden could do anything about it. That's what he plans.
The Suzuki looks as though it's working a little bit better on the road than the Hondas at the moment. It's probably good preparation, I'd say, from the Action Suzuki team.
That's first and second place after 48 hours, 48 minutes and 40 seconds of racing. 48 hours would be a fairly tough race. They do some 24-hour races, and I've got to see one of those. I just love to see motorbikes racing through the night at full whack with meagre headlights on. It seemed, I think, fairly unbelievable.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, though. I wouldn't like to be in it, that's for sure.
No, 0.63 of a second. First to second. Campbell.
Not a lot in it between them.
Holden. Nothing in it, is there?
No.
What's the tactic, Wayne Gardner? What should Holden do? What should Campbell do, presuming they get up to the position of being able to swap placings? Is it worth fighting about?
Well, if I was in a position of, say, Malcolm, I'd be trying as hard as I can at the moment, safely, to try and pull out a bit of a lead again. But if not, if he was still going to catch, and I'd just settle and I'd tuck him right behind and just follow Robert then and try and push him as hard as I can. Possibly might do something wrong, who knows? That'd be my tactics.
He's starting to try because he's pulled in half to 3/4 of a second. He's back into the 18s. They dropped out for quite a while into 19s. So he's hauling in the time.
And I think for Robert now, if he's smart enough, he'll just say, well, I'll just try and tuck in and stay with him and see how we go towards the end of the race. I think it'd be foolish to try and catch him and pass him and try and pull away, because I think sure he would do something wrong.
Holden's fallen off a bit that time, about 1.4 seconds. Traffic helping Malcolm Campbell just a little bit. That's not Paul Feeney there that you see. Or is it, in fact, on Perro? It is indeed. It is, so that the race order is Campbell from Holden, from Chivas, from Perro's 4th. 5th is Feeney on 6. Then 6th on number 2 is John Pace, followed on number 8 by Neil Robinson, Ian Swift, then Michael Dowson, then Robbie Phillis on 11, and on 28 Trevor Manley. An 18.44 Malcolm Campbell that last lap. So again, down to the fastest laps in the race, only an 18.3 bettering it.
It looks as though also he's pulling away from Robert.
He is indeed. Robert Holden, I think, has given it his best shot at this stage. Yeah. And Malcolm Campbell's got the signal from his pit and replied.
I think Robert caught Malcolm sleeping there for a little bit, and he's decided to pull his finger out and go for it again.
Indeed, he has pulled back a good lap.
Yeah, quite
or
a way.
Good gap. 2 seconds. How quickly he did that.
In 2 laps.
You pick it up everywhere. Do you rev the engine a little bit harder, go deeper under brakes, faster in corners, or what?
I'd say deeper under brakes for a start, and also trying harder acceleration out of the corner, and possibly revving it a bit harder too, yeah.
18.79 for Campbell on that lap, so still in the 18s, and got the bike flying past one of the 500 Suzuki's, Mario Pin. We saw briefly Ian Perro there. He's in 4th place. There he is. The metallic blue Honda. A tall, lanky Kiwi who won the wet round last weekend of the Superbike race over Malcolm Campbell and Phyllis and others. He came through from behind and showing enormous confidence in the rain. Blitzed the field, absolutely, went past them. And Campbell, of course, was playing for an overall win in the 2 heats of the Coca-Cola International Superbike Challenge. But Perro, nevertheless, really put in a great performance.
Yeah, it's good to see other riders coming up and getting wins here and there. Also boosts your confidence when you have a win, especially up against some tough guys and some real good American riders.
Yes, there's some good guys there, Freddie Merkel and we see here some pretty thick traffic. Again, the usual problem of finding their way through lapped vehicles. Perro sticking grimly with Neil Chivas, trying to stick with him is Pin on 25, but he's lapped and it doesn't take very long for Perro to dispatch him. Surfers Paradise with the airstrip in the middle of the racetrack, an added feature, a glorious racetrack, tremendous challenge. And then bike 6 now in 5th place. Great effort by Paul Feeney, and what a fillip for the team, which really does need it. Len Willing injured September 5th over in Western Australia and out for probably 3 months. Here on Friday, Jeff McNaughton off in top gear down the back there, tossed it away with tyre testing and didn't have the selection of compounds they want, and the front went. And he's here today, and he said he's got remarkably improved movement in his arm in just a day, as Malcolm Campbell's lead goes out to 3 seconds. But perhaps McNaughton will be fit for the 6 hour. And I was talking with a rider who doesn't ride Kawasaki at the moment down in the pits earlier, and he's very seriously thinking of breaking a long-time allegiance to another make, to accept Kawasaki's offer to him to go across, because he sees that bike as a pretty handy sort of a machine. It's lighter than all these bikes except the very light oil-cooled Suzuki, lighter than the Honda or the Yamaha, and it's the most powerful of them all.
Really? I didn't know that. It's just
about
a
106
new bike
horsepower. Cologne show last week. first shown to the public.
When you're talking about injuries and riding with them, it's, I've done it this year when I had a knee injury when I was hit on the start line. That yeah, it's really sore when you first start the race or when you're off the bike. But as soon as you get on the bike, you're concentrating on so much what you're doing and the adrenaline's flowing, you actually forget about all your injuries and irks and perks you got, and you just get on with the job.
Paul Feeney, a lovely guy, former sidecar rider.
He's certainly a real trier, Paul.
He is a real trier, he really is. He's had a fair share of bad luck. I could really upset people by talking along his collarbone of some horrible lumps under the skin, and they're the screws that he hasn't yet had taken out. And apparently, if you really feel it, you can feel the head on the screw. Dreadful business. Not for me, I'm afraid. Looks awfully ugly.
The bionic man.
Yeah. Well, poor old Paul, he was brought down at Bathurst at Easter, did his collarbone, and then got into a problem at Oran Park testing for round 3 of the Shell Oil series, got onto the grass, couldn't hang on to it, dumped it, did his collarbone again. It's had to be screwed up, and they'll get the screws out.
Poor old Paul. I like Paul so much. He's a
lovely bloke. He really is a nice guy.
He's had a tough time, but he's also starting to come good for him, I think, now that he's got rides such as with Kawasaki and
Never stops trying.
Certainly doesn't. He gives it always 150%.
And always cheerful too.
That's important.
42 completed. They're on their 43rd. They've been racing for nearly 57 minutes. So it shouldn't be very long after this before the race leader, Malcolm Campbell, comes in for the first of 2 scheduled pit stops, full replenishment, rear tyre, fuel top-up. He can go longer than an hour, but they won't be out there for very much longer than that. His lead over Robert Holden is 3 seconds, whose lead over third-place Neil Chivas is 2.67 seconds. And then in behind Chivas is 4th place Perro on number 4, 5th place Feeney on that Kawasaki number 6, and then in 6th place on number 2 is John Pace for Mattich Racing, the black and white bike, followed then by Neil Robinson, Ian Swift on 8, and then the 2 Marlborough Yamaha dealer team bikes. Kevin Magee heads Michael Dowson and is followed by Robbie Phillis on 11. Malcolm Campbell, who went, of course, at Suzuki's invitation. That's Roberto Galina's HB Suzuki Grand Prix team to Europe to test at Rijeka circuit in Yugoslavia. You know something about this, Wayne?
Yes, we were actually testing the following day on Michelin tyres, and my team went out there on that day to watch, and we were watching Malcolm go around for a while, and also with Dave Peterson. And Malcolm wasn't doing too bad. He was doing 36s and 35s, and the lap record is 31. So he was a little bit off the pace of actually Grand Prix bikes. And he was trying very, very hard at the time, and we left, and we thought we'll leave him to it. And then the Michelin men come back that night and says, oh, Malcolm fell off and broke his collarbone. And then also read in the paper he didn't break it, so I don't really know what was the true story.
No, he didn't. He injured the shoulder, but didn't break it. Well, 58.5 minutes of racing. Malcolm Campbell due in very shortly, and when he gets there, we'll have John Smales down in the pits to tell us all about it. Not very much rest for Malcolm Campbell when he gets in. His crew practicing this morning between 16 and 19 seconds pit stops. And let's go down now to John Smales. He's got a report for us in the pit area. Racing. We'll pick up John shortly. Malcolm Campbell hooking under the bridge again, doing it for the 45th time, and in a few seconds completing his hour of racing. So could be in as early as the next few laps that we see Campbell into the pits. And there's Paul Feeney into the pits. He was 5th when he pitted.
Kawasaki in Australia. Unfussed around the back of the bike. This is the problem area that Neville Doyle indicated at the rear of the machine. But boy, they're having no troubles whatsoever. They've got a split pin yet to get in. Peter Doyle at the back of the bike is filling with it at the moment it's in. And they're away at 25.55 seconds.
24-second stop, and there is
pit stop
Mick Smith
from Team Kawasaki.
He'll be... Mick Smith looking after Honda Australia, and therefore Malcolm Campbell. Feeney out on the track, about a 24-second stop. And so that makes the race order. Campbell, still from Holden 2nd, Chivas 3rd. So Honda from 2 Suzukis, from another Honda in 4th place, that's Ian Perot. 5th place is the first Yamaha, it's number 2, John Pace. 6th place then, as we see Campbell in now, the race leader. So the race lead is number 7 now, Robert Holden. Let's hear from John Smales.
Malcolm Campbell hits the pits. 15 seconds gone. They're still mucking about with the back of the motorcycle. Finally, the axle goes in. That was not a good stop. And he's away in 22.9 seconds. They've practiced it a lot faster than that, but in race conditions, that's still not bad.
Here's our race leader then, Robert Holden. He can't get to an hour and a half, but he's leading the race at the moment. And this has been a great ride from Holden. I think you'd agree, Wayne, the way he's come forward from being a little way back in the opening laps, the pressure he's put on Campbell. He's had several cracks at him and kept Campbell very honest in his times. And it really has been a determined effort by the man who's lying 3rd in the series, 5 points from the series leader, Neil Chivas, and the man who's presently 2nd.
Well, I think if he had got a better start on, I think he's actually been the most consistent. If his starts had been just a little bit better, I'm sure he would have been actually leading this race. He's actually riding very, very well and consistent and smooth, and the bike actually looks very good on the track. So it's all working very good for his team now.
To give you an idea, last year's winning distance was 128 laps, 406 kilometres. We've just done 45 in the first hour. If we take a lap out of each of the following 2 hours, say 2 hours of 44 each is 88. Going to be about 133 laps. It'll be 5 laps more, 16 kilometres, which is 5 kilometres an hour more than last year's winning race pace if it goes on like this.
That's
fast.
That's quite a big jump from
it is a big
last
jump.
year to this year.
I'll say.
It just goes in to show that the bikes have improved, suspension has, and also tyres have improved greatly, and also the riders are trying harder this year. So as you can see, this year's 6-hour race is going to be a real cracker also.
Yes. Under the masterly guidance of totally unknown team manager Wayne Gardner.
Yes, it'll be a first time, so I'll give it my best shot.
The Triple M mentor team.
That's right. I've got Neil McKenzie coming out from England, and also Robert Scully.
He's a talent.
I've got quite a good team actually under me, and I'm quite looking forward to it.
It'll be very interesting. We'll see the pressure on you from a different point of view. You're used to being in Robert Holden's situation out in front in a race and trying to work out what you should do, how you should look after the bike, tyres and everything, and what the pit crew are trying to say to you.
Yes.
The confusions of signals sometimes must be interesting.
I know what he's going to be thinking all the time, so it should be great. I mean, I've never done it before, so it should be a lot of fun, I think, and it's going to be a good walk around with a stopwatch hanging around my neck and the sunglasses on and saying your time's aren't fast enough. That's what they usually say to me, so it'll be good to say it to them for once.
Let's recap on the race situation at this stage. 48 laps completed after 1 hour, 4 minutes and nearly 30 seconds. Race leader Robert Holden there on 7 for Suzuki. Second place, Matich Racing's John Pace on Yamaha number 2. And then the situation behind that changing quite frequently. And so the lap chartists are working on that, but we'll have a look at them as they come past down the track. And it's Holden with a big lead as he completes lap 49. very big lead, in fact. Still not to the start-finish line, the second place bike, which comes now. That's John Pace on bike number 2. Then it's Neil Robinson, Ian Swift on 8. They're in 3rd place. As Robbie Phillis pits. It's a big gap back from bike number 8 then, as many of the leading teams have been into the pits, including Robbie Phillis on 10. It in fact would be 3rd and 4th, would be Kevin Magee, Malcolm Campbell. They're quite close together. They've just gone about under the Dunlop Bridge now, as round the back of the circuit comes 2nd place bike. Now it's almost the other side of the circuit that has 3rd and 4th placed Kevin Magee, Malcolm Campbell. So they're at it again. The race leader going down the back of the circuit, down towards Kelly Springfield corner, that tight corner that goes on in a very tight loop, Wayne. It takes a long time to open up.
It certainly does. It's, I think, a very tricky corner because there's a bump halfway around it. And it's exactly where you want to try and put the power on. If you put it on too sudden, it just wants to flick the back out and toss you off. So it's a tricky corner, and I think, especially today in these type of conditions, humid conditions, it plays havoc with the tyres. But Robert's riding very smooth, and that's the way to win races these days, is to be smooth and consistent.
He's doing a great job. 2 and 8 quite close together, Pace and Robinson and Swift. Question is, how long can he stay out there? I don't think there's any chance that he can get to the hour and a half. The Yamaha's big advantage over the Suzuki always was that it could go an hour and a half. The Suzuki couldn't. Smaller tank and slightly thirstier engine.
But
and the Yamaha is not expecting to get to an hour and a half, so very unlikely that the
Suzuki's lighter than possibly quite a bit.
The back end on Holden's bike, chattering and working pretty hard. Track quite bumpy at surfers as he completes lap 51. Holden and swooping again down the back section towards IPEC corner. How tight a corner is that, Wayne Gardner?
It's quite hard, especially, or tight, especially when you're coming in at about 140 mile an hour and you've got to break down to something like about, I think if I remember, 2nd gear, so it's about 70 mile an hour. So when you're doing them speeds, it's quite tight, very tight.
Trevor Manley, who had been 10th outright, and also pushing is Neil Chivas on bike number 9. So bad luck for Chivas. He'd been holding 2nd place. He dropped out of that. My goodness gracious me, you wouldn't know there was a race leader in there. But there he is on bike number 7. But what bad luck for Neil Chivas. There's Trevor Manley and there's Chivas behind him. So 10th and 2nd place bike he was behind Holden. Chivas on 9. Until he struck some sort of problem, which John Smales will probably tell us more about. And there he is, very dejected man, short of sleep, washed out, down on strength a bit, and pushing about 178 kilos, which is very hard when you have to push out to your side. It really takes a lot of effort, both to balance and to push.
I know how he feels. Last year at the Sweden GP, I was 2nd right up to the last lap, with half a lap to go. I ran out of petrol. I couldn't believe it. All that work for nothing. And so I know exactly how he feels.
If you're going to drop out, they say drop out early, don't they?
That's right, yeah.
Robert Holden coming up an hour and 10 minutes now. Marlboro Yamaha dealer team bikes have been in. Team Honda Australia have both been in. The 2nd Matic race team bike hasn't. It's number 2. It's holding 2nd place at the moment.
And if you need any example at all of just how tough the pace is out there, just have a look at Ian Swift's foot. He's worn right through the leather of his boots, and there's blood coming out of the foot. Ian, the pace is really tough.
Yeah, they're really going out there, Neil. I think that the front runners would be sort of lapping on their qualifying times, and I was messing up, having a few little problems there, but I hope to smooth out later on the second session and see if we can get up there.
The problem is not only on the riders, I guess, but also on tyre wear and on fuel consumption.
Yeah, fuel consumption is a major problem. We have to come in sort of just after the hour, make sure we're not too late, you know, sort of thing, because it's going through a fair bit of fuel there, and we've got to make sure the fuel stops are pretty well spot on, I think.
Well, I'll leave you to get a new pair of boots on. You should be aware also that the reason Rod Cox came in early was because his left leg was severely cramped, and he's gone away for medication right now. Back to you, Will.
One of the big problems of this Shell Oils 3R at Surfers Paradise, Neil Chivas, in the year that he nearly won it, absolutely exhausted when he was taken off the bike at the end of the race. And a number of the riders who are doing it today, solo or planning to do so, like Malcolm Campbell, saying, I don't know, I've never finished a 3R yet.
Yeah.
Yet to find out how tough it is.
Well, it's going to play very hard on them all, as I said, because the humidity of today and also the hard pace they're running at. So, as you can see by Ian's foot, he not only needs a new boot, he needs a new foot. It's a hard pace. So there's Ian Perot there.
Ian Perot.
Yeah.
Well, what's happened to Perot, the man
like
that led the race?
His leathers are all dusted up on the side, so I don't
Bad
really know.
luck. Tall, lanky man, as you can see. And this man effectively dispatching a lot of them. The race situation behind him again is John Pace on number 2, 26-year-old for Mattich Racing. Then it's Kevin Magee from Michael Dowson. And in 5th place, Paul Feeney for Kawasaki. A lap down is Neil Robinson, Ian Swift on 8, followed by 16, Robert Duran.
Robert's riding very, very smoothly. He's doing an excellent job. And the bike, as I said earlier, it's working very good. And at the moment, he's got a nice clear run and putting in some nice, good, fast and smooth lap times. And that's what endurance racing is all about.
Yes, he's in an artificial situation at the moment, not having done a pit stop. So that he's got a big lead at the moment over anybody and everybody. As into the pits goes bike number 2. That's the 2nd place, John Pace. Coming down to Mattich Racing, having difficulty finding his pit, stopping. John Pace off the bike. Ben Middlemas onto it. 2nd place when they called in just a moment ago. Not too many moments ago, 33 seconds. Now mobile, 37 seconds, far too long. Ben Middlemas, not a lot of practice laps under his belt, but back out onto the racetrack so that Robert Holden's lead emphasised even further, and bringing Kevin Magee up into 2nd place, Michael Dowson to 3rd, and Holden the race leader now. Holden into the pits. Still leads. The others haven't come past. Now Magee leads. Now Michael Dowson's in 2nd place. Robert Holden will still be in 3rd. Cost him nearly 40 seconds in the pits, but he comes out in third place and hangs on to it.
That wasn't a very, very good pit stop at all, and it was most important to keep that nice and clean, and I think he possibly would have lost some lead on his advantage.
And that's the new race leader, Kevin Magee. So that early stop for him
has paid off.
And let's hear what happened to Neil Chivas, the man who went so well, feeling washed out this morning, but pulled up into second place before he had to walk the bike back to the pits.
Well, the leader of the Shell Superbike Series is not going to continue. Neil, what happened?
Well, John, we've had about 10 of these particular motorbikes, and we get an hour and 3 minutes to a petrol tank out of every one we've had. And we've tested this one, and we've got that out of it, but I think we miscalculated on the pace today, and we ran out half a lap short, and I had to push it back. Lost too many laps to make it worthwhile.
The pace has really been something else again.
Well, that's right. Although one chap got a 17 in qualifying, the rest were in 18s, and most of the time I think we were doing 18s then, except for traffic, and obviously it dropped back a little bit. But I was quite content to try and keep with Malcolm and Robert Holden, because it would have meant if I could stay with them, I could have won the series, and either one of those could not have caught me if they stayed in that position. So while they stayed there and I was sitting there, it was good, but if Robert passed Malcolm, I would have had to try and pass Malcolm too.
Well, the only chance you've got now is if everyone drops out, and that doesn't seem likely, although the way the pace is going.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Neil, the Shell Series is over for you, but there's still the Castrol 6 hour to come.
Yes, I haven't had a good run in the 6 hour since, in the Australian 6 hour, for the last 2 or 3 years. We're hoping to do well this year. All I can say is it's a hard race to try and do well in, and we can only do our best.
Well, Neil Chivas, thanks very much, and great commiserations from us today to you for the bad luck that's befallen you.
Thank you very much, John.
As 58 laps completed, going down the back straight towards IPEC corner is the race leader, Kevin Magee. There's the race situation from his teammate, Michael Dowson, second. Third place, Robert Holden, dropped from first to third in his pit stop. Paul Feeney, Kawasaki, and then John Pace, Ben Middlemas, Yamaha for Matich Racing, number 2 in 5th place. 1 lap down is the Ian Swift, Neil Robinson pairing, bike number 8, Suzuki again, and they're in 6th place. Malcolm Campbell is behind him, and he is in 7th. So, the best laid plans and practice of teams to get their pit stops down to the area, aiming for 12, 13 seconds, achieving 15, 16, somewhere up to 19 in practices, all falling apart, with most of the pit stops today taking 30 seconds or more. Still a spectacular time to change a rear wheel with all the nuts and bolts and axles and things that have to be fiddled with, spacers and chains and sprockets. But nevertheless, not as good as they can do under ideal practice conditions. Magee by.
I think it's very disappointing, really, from all the teams. They practice very fast times and they don't do very good pit times at all.
And then Michael Dowson's 10.7 seconds behind him. Sandwiched in between those two is in fact bike number 1, Rod Cox for Matich Racing. But that was the bike that we saw pit early, and it is in fact a lap down, and it's in 5th, 8th, 10th place. So Magee at this stage is going to be a very hard man for even Michael Dowson to catch, who's in 2nd, certainly for Malcolm Campbell.
I think Warren Willing's tactics are actually paying off very well at the moment.
Yes, they're working all right. He came in for that early stop at about 35 minutes and now has a very nice lead in the race.
As I said before, when you get a nice clear run such as now Kevin's got, you can actually put in some good fast times and consistency. So that was probably the best thing to do from Warren's point, is to pull him in get him out of the pack of the gabble that was getting on, and then get him out by himself now. So it looks like it's paying off for him. Good.
And Kevin's loving it. He's lapping on his own. He's deciding his own tactics, his own lines, forcing hard, braking late, and really at this stage going for it. There's his teammate Dowson. That's second place. Was 10.7 seconds between the two. I'll give you another check on that shortly. On 34 is Glenn Evans, Graham Klingon, another Action Suzuki bike. They've got as many bikes in this Action Suzuki as Bob Jane has in cars in the James Hardy. He's got 5 vehicles entered, with another cigarette company coming into sponsorship. Not another company, because it's still Rothmans, the people you run with, but one of their brands that hasn't been seen in Australian motorsport sponsorship. And they're getting on the 2 AMG Mercedes, Martins of Piccadilly.
Oh, that's great to see. I mean,
So,
a lot of people condemn cigarette sponsorship, but in a certain way, a lot of sports couldn't do without them. And,
I welcome it to Motorsport, Wayne, because they run a thoroughly professional operation.
They do.
And the way Marlborough supports bike racing back here, in the sense of the information they feed to the press, the publicity they try and organise, it's only for people to take advantage of if they wish to, but they make it easier for you to do so with good pictures and information and so on. The way they service Formula One car racing, it'd be 30% worse off if they pulled out of that.
That's right.
And I might say they're very distressed to learn that your publicity has been handled back here by one guy from his house in Wollongong.
He has.
It's been so successful.
Yes, Nick Harkering at Wollongong has done a very, very good job, and I've been far impressed with him.
He's done a great job, and a very nice guy. As we see Feeney, he's in 4th place. So to recap that race order again, it's the 2 Marlboro Yamahas of Magee and Dowson. From on 7, Robert Holden. On 6, this man, Paul Feeney. Behind him, 5th place is John Pace, number 2. And then 6th, Ian Swift, Neil Robinson on 8, followed then by Malcolm Campbell. So, race leader Magee across the start-finish line now. We'll give you some gaps from him to 2nd and to 3rd and then to 4th placed Paul Feeney. Paul Feeney's in the latter part of the track before he comes around onto the straight. Dowson's 12.38 seconds in arrears in 2nd place. Robert Holden is a further 9.3 in arrears, and then Paul Feeney just onto the straight now, already 7 seconds, 8, 12.4.
It's got quite a handy lead now, so it's working well.
It is indeed. Yes, Kevin Magee is going nicely, but what a great debut this is. Racetrack debut for the GPX 750 Kawasaki. Of course, there are not a lot of countries in the world that have pure stock production racing as we have in Australia. It's fairly unusual. Most countries allow some sort of modification, as does Britain, Wayne.
That's right. The Superstock series in Britain is a basic production machine, as you see on the track now, but they're allowed to modify certain small things such as exhaust pipe and tyres. And I think basically the whole rest of the bike's got to stay the same. So in actual production machines, you don't see this very, very often around the world at all. I think South Africa is another place that do have this type of racing. Even Japan has got it slightly different. They're slightly modified in their F3 class. So that's why, as I said earlier, these riders are probably some of the best riders in the world on these production machines.
In fact, down the back of the pits to the Yamaha dealer team pit, they just have a pile of exhaust pipes down there, because they actually do touch the pipes on the Yamahas and wear them out, and they have to replace them before the race starts. And if they had to buy them, they were fairly expensive, but of course they're not blessed with that. As we look at bike 2, that's in 5th place, this is John Pace, and Wayne, he's a guy that went to England in 1980, back there again in 83, 84. Been so close. He's had some wins over there and some good results.
He has.
What went wrong? He feels perhaps not enough consistency.
Well, I think he's probably right, but just at the time he left...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but of course it's Ben Middlemas on the bike at the moment, but we're talking of John Pace.
John Pace, that's
his
right.
co-rider.
John left just at the wrong time, I think, because the Suzuki GB were getting very interested in him, and he was actually doing quite well. And just before he left, he had a fall and he broke one of his bones, I think his ankle or his wrist or something. And then he just got totally just sick of it all and says, well, I'm going home. And it was just at the wrong time when he went home. I wish he had stayed because he was just about there and cracked a good ride.
That's right, that's his impression. Heron Suzuki sort of said, hello, John Pace, and he was back in Australia resting from an injury.
That's
and
right.
Ben Middlemas, that's riding the bike now, younger brother of Glenn, who was an Australian 500 champion a couple of years ago. Doing a good job. He's been raised on superbikes and to a lesser extent production. He was a sort of spare rider for either bike in the Matic team, and they switched things around. He was to be paired with Rod Cox, and they finally changed it and brought French in with Cox and Middlemas with John Pace, because they qualified with John Pace doing an 18.6, Jeff French a 19.4, but Middlemas faster, the reserve rider, doing just a 19, so he's only 4/10 of a second off John Pace's time. So they were virtually the lead bike for the team, and as it's turned out, it's the bike that's been going best. So it's worked out quite well to have their 2 quickest riders on it. French had a 19.4 and Cox at 20.7, although he did go, of course, very much better than that in the early part of the race. The race leader is this man, this bike, going solo over the whole distance if he can do it, more than 400 kilometres, more than 135 kilometres an hour average. A very tiring business. It is a cloudy day, so not too much sun, and I don't think it's as muggy as it had been.
No, it's cool.
A nice breeze. Yes, there's a breeze keeping it cool, so for the riders, not a bad day.
Well, it's good for both the riders and the machine, and also the tyres, which is probably the most important thing at the moment.
Just look at that muffler when you see the bike sitting upright. Oh, look at it. He's got that thing flowing well.
Yeah,
he really has.
Hard.
And they touch them. You see the scar just on the forward edge of the muffler where it comes off the pipe. You'll see where Kevin Magee's been grounding it and wearing it away.
He's pointing down to the back of his bike. Either it's a rear tyre or a muffler as he went past the pits.
I think, Wayne Gardner, that although Kevin Magee's looking good at the moment and some great Magee talent is coming into play now to hang on to a bike that's becoming pretty slippery and moving around a lot, I think the race is far from over, because he's going to have to pit soon. He's going to fall out of this first place a fair way back. He's on a disjointed schedule with the other front runners.
Well, it's certainly not over as yet. We're only halfway, so as you can see, as I was watching him went past, he's pointing down to the rear tyre or muffler or something, so he's having a problem either with sliding or touching. So he's got his problems too, I guess, as everybody else. So it's certainly not over by a long way. Actually, Kevin makes that bike look so small. He looks a big boy.
He's a solid lad. Philip Hockey's the man he's coming up to now, among a number. Is he good broad-shouldered, a bit sort of Rob McElnay-like in build.
Maybe he should have took up football.
And again, you can see that scarring. He's from Horsham in Victoria, very much a country boy, but I have a very high regard for Kevin.
He's pointing down with his foot to the rear, so it must be some problem with the rear tyre. So I guess he's probably going, when he pits, he's going to have a new rear put in.
Yes, well, that would be the plan anyway. He's probably warning them. With Michael Dowson now 11.6 seconds, so it's been that mark of 10 to 12 seconds for a long time, first to second place. And Dowson will go to the lead because he's half a pit stop different, isn't he? He stayed out for that hour odd.
Right.
And still third place Holden, still fourth place, number 6, Paul Feeney, the Kawasaki. Fifth place is number 2, John Pace, Ben Middlemas.
10 seconds in 3 hours is not a lot, believe me.
As we look at Andrew McNaughton, the Outrider Yamaha entry number 14. And it's a limpy rider bringing it in, skipping and limping. 67 laps completed and 1.5 hours passed. So we are just past the halfway mark, and that's the race situation. 2 Yamahas leading from Suzuki, from Kawasaki, from another Yamaha, with the best placed Honda back in 7th place, Malcolm Campbell. Magee at 20.08. They started off and were doing low 18s, went out to 19s, and dropping only at kilometres an hour. It's not an enormous difference. It's 144 kilometres an hour. Just still a very quick speed, Wayne, on a production bike.
It is, especially if he's having problems with the rear tyre as he's pointing down. But I'd say he's also getting tired and hot, and the machine's running at quite a good, probably hot temperature, but quite a good temperature. So I think it's performance of the tyres and the rider.
This is the man that stated absolutely straight-faced yesterday. He's quite serious. He said, oh yes, this weekend's important, but I don't want to ride flat out. Next weekend's the important one. Now that's where I've got a real opportunity. I'll keep a bit in reserve for today.
Well, I think that's a case of all riders say that. Even I've said that many times. I'm going to take it easy today, and I go out there and ride, you know, as hard as I can, as fast as I can.
There you can see the mark on the muffler again. Have a look for it when he's cranked over and we're fairly square to the back. And you'll see it in the forward edge of the left muffler here. There it is, where he's been touching bottom and will eventually wear through. And it's the same thing on the right muffler too. As Magee comes round now, 1 hour, 32 minutes of racing gone. He completes a lap at 19.5, 19.6 on that occasion.
I think Kevin's a real racer because he's exactly the same as myself, where you go out there and ride as hard as you can every race you go in, and it's just something that switches on inside you. The adrenaline starts pumping and you want to give it everything you got.
Magee doing a great job. The lap score is suggesting that in fact there could be a Honda in front of him, Malcolm Campbell. It certainly would make more sense than Malcolm Campbell being back in 7th place behind Swift and Robinson, both bikes of which have had a pit stop, and Campbell obviously was running much faster earlier on in the race.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it there for a while where Malcolm went. I thought maybe he just disappeared and what he was doing back in 7th, so possibly it was a mix-up on the lap board. It reminds me of the year when we didn't win the 6 hour, but we won it.
Yes.
It's like having a Clayton's when you're not having a drink.
6 hours traditional, isn't it, for revising verdicts? There's been some classic races. About 11.88 seconds between Kevin Magee and his teammate Michael Dowson.
How to win a race with a protest.
Tell us the background story to that.
We basically won the race, I think, what year was it, 83, 82, 82. And we crossed the line, and then there was a protest said we didn't win it, and we were 1 lap behind, but there was no chance of that because we didn't ever put a foot wrong that day. And then there was protests went on for 12 months, and we weren't sure whether we won it for 12 months or not.
A really interesting thing was that I remember back to 1980 when you were teamed up with Andrew Johnson, the hard man of Australian production racing at the time.
AJ.
And Wayne Gardner was the junior boy, wasn't he? He was under the pressure. Can you keep up with what the standard set by Andrew Johnson? That's
right. It was a funny sort of a situation, but it's always good to be the underdog, I guess, in certain ways. And I went out there and just tried to prove my best, and I was under no pressure, and I ended up actually holding the whole team up, and Andrew helped me. So it was a good team that year, and we won it, and I've never really looked back since then.
Indeed, you certainly made every step a winner each year. Malcolm Campbell is the race leader. Sorry we've misinformed you, but a lap missed by his scorers. We certainly were clearing it, but Kevin Magee's chasing him. We'll have a gap for you on it on a moment, but we'll also hear very shortly from John Smales down in the pits as to how things are going with Team Honda Australia.
Well, as Mal Campbell continues to charge around 8 seconds ahead of the Yamahas, Ian Perro is already back in his civvies. Ian, what's happened?
Oh, I tried to get 8 seconds in front of the Yamahas too, I think. Just tried a little bit too hard. Over at Kelly Springfield corner, a tight right-hander, I just pulled on the front brake too hard and locked the front wheel and slid down the road.
Well, from since the Swan Series last year, I don't think we've seen such close racing in Australian motorcycling as we have today. What was the pace like out there?
Very fast, very fast. I got away to a good start. My bike seems a little bit slower than yesterday. The temperatures changed. The jetting, we had a jetting change this morning. We took a gamble. It doesn't seem to have paid off. The pace very hard. Wally's doing a tremendous job out there on the Honda.
Well, you say that in fact you took a jetting change. Does that mean Campbell also has a problem?
No, he left his as it was. His yesterday was a little bit slower than my bike, but so we went to what he had today. Sorry, we changed mine again today, and now his is sort of okay in the weather conditions, and mine isn't. It's all very touchy.
What's the situation with Mal now? One more pit stop to go.
Yeah, one more pit stop, a tyre change, and then that's the end. That's it for him in the pits, and he's just got to get out there and battle against the Yamahas.
Well, currently Team Honda's leaving the pit stops with a 22-second stop on Campbell's bike.
Yeah, well, our pit stops went good in practice. We've been doing a lot of work with them. And I think because the race is won and lost in the pits these days, and everyone at this race is on even keel with their pit stops, although I think the Suzukis have one more now. But as far as the Yamahas go, we've all got 2 stops in the Hondas. So it's very critical that you have very quick fuel stops and wheel changes.
Ian, thank you.
Thank you very much.
13.7 seconds is the lead. Malcolm Campbell to Kevin Magee, to Michael Dowson 3rd, to Robert Holden Suzuki 4th, to Paul Feeney Kawasaki 5th, to Ian Swift, Neil Robinson 6th, Suzuki, and to John Pace 7th. Yamaha, followed by another Yamaha, both of them Mattich Racing. 8th, 1, Rod Cox. 9th on 10, Rob Phillis. And 10th on 24 is Jeff Paul.
I noticed Ian was saying about jetting and temperature of running of the engine. It's so critical, and especially has been for myself this year in Grand Prix racing. If the bike climbs over the top of its good running temperature, they do lose quite a lot of horsepower, and jetting plays quite a big difference in actual temperature of the bike.
I can remember the year that Murray Sale came to, sorry, not Murray Sale, that Alan Moffat came to Bathurst with his Mazda RX-7. He was expected to go very well after a fairly dominant year at most races, shorter races in the Australian Touring Car Championship, and the car was nowhere. And Murray Sale, a very experienced motorcyclist, was standing back and saying, I can't believe that people would come to a circuit that's a fair way above sea level and not change their jetting and their carburation and their fuel mixture. He said on a motorbike, we'd be just nowhere. The bike would lose power, probably seize, if we ran sea level jetting and mixture at Bathurst. And it's what motorcycle people appreciate, just how critical very fine engine tune is, not only to have the bike produce its maximum power, but to run reliably.
And right temperature, that's right. So it's all to do with that, with actual jetting, and he's exactly right. Same in South Africa, something like about 2,000 or 3,000 feet above sea level, and they lose something like 10 or 15% horsepower just because of the height difference there.
Looking at the 500 class leader, in fact it's a below 700 class, so it excludes all the outright running 750s and any thousands that might be in the race. And that's Gaythorne Yamahas. Michael Doohan, Greg Scales, they won this class last year, and very confidently earlier today they were saying, we've got it won, we stay upright, we'll win it. You're looking at the winning bike, full of confidence. And it certainly appears to be the way they're doing it at the moment, as they loom fairly close to Rodney Cox. Cox is 2, 4, 6 in 8th place outright. but they, of course, are not on the same lap as he. They're doing a great job, and the bike is the Yamaha RZ 500. There's the Suzuki RG 500. Both of them two-stroke four-cylinder machines. Michael Dowson took one to a 6-hour win at Oran Park, riding a sensational first session. I think making a dent in the top of the tank, he was tucked down so hard. As we look at Michael Dowson being haunted by Robert Holden, here's that man again, Wayne Gardner, in the blue leathers on the Suzuki, number 7. We're looking for the battle for third place. In front of them, Kevin Magee's second, Malcolm Campbell's first. As they go down the back, the dice is on. Paul Feeney's 5th behind them.
It's good to see a bit of mid-race competition now, so it's going to be good to see who wins out between these two. There goes Robert now.
A quick look across.
Hello and goodbye.
Yes. Not over though, I think. Michael Dowson had a very nasty time through there on his superbike at the last touring car. Sorry, it was long distance race here. And they had a superbike 2 heats. And Michael Dowson's superbike got into the most fearful front to rear end sort of lolloping, porpoising motion. My goodness, he did well to hang on to it through that back section in what were 2 sensational races. Just brilliant. So close.
I remember watching Michael Dowson through the S's a couple of years ago in the Swan Series, and he lost the front end right in front of me, skated across the track, went through the grass and come back on and didn't fall off, and I was so amazed. I was really impressed with his riding then.
Yes, he's done very well on the TZ 750, hasn't he?
Yeah, he did very well that year.
Did you ever ride one of those enormous, big, fast Yamahas?
No, I never raced one. I had one ride one day just at a place in Scotland called Knockhill on Malcarter's.
I've been to Knockhill.
Oh, right.
I've commentated at Knockhill when Terry Perkins was there.
It was when I first went over in 1980 just for a quick holiday, and I was with Mal Carter and Ron Haslam in the Farah racing team colours. And he says, have you ever ridden a big bike? And I said, well, the biggest I've ridden is a TZ 350. So he says, I'll try this one. But he didn't tell me the gear change is on the right-hand side, the brake on the left. And it was totally all back to front. So I went out and did my best, and I was about half a second slower than Ronnie, and he didn't say much, and I just gave the bike back, and that was the last I seen of that.
Mal Carter was the man who was taking, of course, Dennis Neal across to Isle of Man.
That's
the
right.
Same year that Dennis came unstuck at Bathurst, and where I think he could have gone sensationally well. He's, again, like Kevin Magee, a rider for whom I have enormous regard. As we look at Michael Dowson. Dowson's 4th, Holden's 3rd. Beautiful flow and rhythm as he swoops out onto the straight, and Robert Holden has pulled a lead. He's on the march again. In just those few laps since we saw them dicing, he's pulled a lead of 2.3 seconds. As we look then at Neil Robinson, Ian Swift's bike.
Yeah, he's on the warpath now. He's
This is in
put in
6th
some good
place.
times.
Neil Robinson off the bike, Ian Swift. Sorry, Neil Robinson's on it. Ian Swift resting in the pits. That's the bike in 5th place. 6th place behind it is John Pace, Matic bike number 2. But this one of the Suzukis that are really doing a great job. Robert Holden doing an even more impressive one. He's in 3rd place at the moment, splitting the 2 Yamaha dealer team bikes. And I suspect may well be reining in Kevin Magee. We'll get a split on it. .94 seconds. Holden in 3rd place, forward to Magee in 2nd. Paul Feeney is 5th. He's behind Michael Dowson, who's been dispatched by Magee, by Holden at least. And there's your race situation. An hour 45 minutes and 78 laps completed. So an hour and a quarter remaining in this Shell Oils 3-hour production race. Fourth and final round of the Shell Oils series. And that company and SBS making an even bigger commitment next year to production and to Superbike and to the Australian Road Race Championships. Feeney in 5th place, Kawasaki. So that it's Honda from Yamaha, from Suzuki from Yamaha, from Kawasaki. This is the lead Honda and the rider Malcolm Campbell. And Malcolm 15 or so minutes from his final pit stop. But surely getting to the stage where he must be feeling tired. Starting to work on automatic pilot. Round the 4X hill. Two distinctive bends that really can be hooked into one. 31, Chris Harmon, Rob Sluice at their lapping. Campbell's knee telling him again where the track is, how far he's cranked over, and just pulling it out of the way on the curbing as he's right in on the apex. Comes round and he completes lap 80, Malcolm Campbell. And his margin over Kevin Magee, as Kevin Magee is heading to the pits. Bike number 2 in 2nd place, would be at least 15 seconds behind. He calls into his pit there. This is 2nd place. 3rd place, Robert Holden. Robert Holden's now 2nd. He's motored by. Michael Dowson's now 3rd. He's passed Kevin Magee. Magee is 4th. 5th at the moment. We're waiting for him to come by. Is bike number 6. That's Paul Feeney. And here's Magee on his way again. Not a bad stop, around 20 seconds. Feeney's gone by. So 4th place, Feeney now. 5th place, Kevin Magee. And 6th place, in fact, right with him there. The blue Suzuki is going by him, right with him, and that is in 6th place. So Magee just hangs on to it, the position. This, the race leader, and down in the pits, John Smales.
Lightning stop, 22 seconds. According to team manager Warren Willing, the first stop taken by Magee at 1:25 p.m. was in fact scheduled. So the second stop has happened at 2:37, and Kevin Magee, with a stop of 19 seconds the first time and 22 seconds the second time, is looking pretty good. But how about the other teams? Well, bike 16, Robert Duran, the Wellbank Motorcycles entry from New South Wales, came to the pit a little time ago for a lightning stop. Down came the fuel line, into the tank it went, the people opened the fuel cock, and nothing happened. Why? Because with an hour to go between fuel stops, somebody had forgotten to fill up the fuel tank that replenishes the tank on the bike. Back to you, Will.
Yes, that's enough to make a rider spit chips. As we look at the race leader, Malcolm Campbell. Let's recap. Malcolm Campbell first. From 2nd place, Robert Holden, doing a just superlative job on the limited edition GSXR Suzuki. Michael Dowson, it's been suggested by our lap scorers, might now be back in front of him. We'll check on the track, but they're close. And 4th, bike 6, Paul Feeney, the Kawasaki. Lap 81 completed, 82 about to be started by Malcolm Campbell, who's coming up to the 1 hour 50 mark, 10 odd minutes before his next pit stop due. There's Michael Dowson in 2nd place. So with Malcolm Campbell hooking under the Dunlop Bridge, round 4X hill goes 2nd place Michael Dowson. We'll quantify that gap for you in just a moment. Onto the straight he comes now. And it's a big gap. Malcolm Campbell on the Honda. He might have taken a long while to get the first Honda and Malcolm Campbell production race win this year at Oran Park, but gee, he's making up for it since then. It's 39.67 seconds. And then Holden and Paul Feeney are in very close company. They're in third and fourth. Behind, obviously, second placed Michael Dowson. Oh, the backside's getting sore and aching. That's just one of the other vagaries that come into it in a long-distance motorbike race. And Michael Dowson there, elevating the tail, trying to get comfortable. Very easy to get cramped, despite the amount of moving about they do in the saddle. There's your battle. That's for third and fourth. So that's Robert Holden and Paul Feeney. Third place the Suzuki, fourth place the Kawasaki. They're at it hammer and tongs as the race leader has completed 83 laps. Malcolm Campbell. Perhaps more importantly, significantly to Malcolm Campbell, he's competed 1 hour, 51.5 minutes of racing as Feeney goes down the inside. I don't think he's far enough forward to get third. He's not. It's Suzuki, it's Robert Holden, the Kiwi, that hangs on grimly to third place. Feeney sweeping around on the classic exit from the corner, out wide, hard on the throttle. And Holden looks the wrong side and almost caught out a little bit there because where's he gone? And he's wasted a little bit of time. He's seen nothing. And Feeney, of course, beautifully positioned, but didn't ultimately make a great deal of it. Wayne Gardner, a bit of a classic thing of what you were saying there, of you look over your shoulder and you can be caught out.
That's right. I think a lot of people probably, well, if you've seen it, I'm not sure, is Misano at the end of this year. My last GP is I looked over my shoulder and Eddie went flying past.
I think the only thing that stopped people watching Misano, SBS's live telecast of the last round of the World Championships, was people having a good drink at the various parties that went on around the country. Somebody said to me here yesterday, gee, there were a lot of parties and I only got to one of them.
Well, I didn't get to any until later on. I had a good party that night, but it was really good fun.
We were tremendously grateful for the amount of time you gave us in telephoning. At times when we know you're very wound up and very anxious, you did it just after that morning warm-up, then you did it immediately after the race, and we really got a tremendous feel of what it was all about and how it had gone for you, and we couldn't have written the script better, because on a bike that I think people inside the sport knew is not as fast as the Yamaha, you made Eddie Lawson's task really tough.
Well, you know, it was when I heard about it was going live, I thought it was fantastic news, and I tried to give it as much as I could, and it was really my pleasure. You know, my thank you really to SBS for actually televising the races this year, because it is an exciting sport, and my team and the effort which myself and my whole team put in was enormous, and it's actually good to be recognised now for what we're doing overseas.
It's a great sport, tremendous action, some wonderful people in it. They have to produce the goods every time they go out. They can't rest on their laurels and their skill and their experience, as you sometimes can in car racing. And you lapse for a moment, somebody wants to go past you, and it's just sensational. Like here, Robert Holden's third, Paul Feeney's fourth.
There's nothing in
They
between
must
them.
be getting numb in the backside and achy in the arms, and wind noise is building up. Their ears is tending to block out the noise.
After about an hour on a bike in an endurance race like this, you get into a type of rhythm where you've got a set gear pattern, you know, like one up, one down here, and so on. So they're in this type of pattern at the moment.
Great stuff.
And it's where, you know, the numbness starts to get in and attack you and so on, and concentration starts to drift away.
Best placed Suzuki third. Best placed Kawasaki's fourth. Honda leads the race across the start-finish line now. Malcolm Campbell. So round the back section of the circuit, there's a fairly big gap.
Malcolm has set a fairly hard and very difficult task for the rest of them out there now.
He sure has. So that Malcolm Campbell from Michael Dowson. Dowson is a long way back in the series. He pulled out of Oran Park. He took a hell of a tumble in the earlier Superbike race there. Earlier in the day, and although he started the race by about lap 10 or 12, he'd pulled out. So he didn't get any points there. And so he's a long way back in the series. He hasn't had a score this year, although he was equal first with Michael Dowson, with Kevin Magee in the Denso 500, but not in the Shell Series. That was down at Winton Raceway near Benalla. Look at this one. This really is tremendous racing for two people who've been out there longer than many people would normally ride a stint at Suzuka in the 8-hour raceway, and I think you're generally doing about an hour.
That's right. But it is 8 hours long, and there's two riders, and in fact I did 1 hour each time this year for my team, but in fact last year I did the last 2 hours. That's so right. I had a total of 5 hours at Suzuka in much hotter conditions and more humid than this, so yes. It is very, very hard and demanding, and I know how the riders are feeling now.
Yes, you were better supported by your rider this year, Dominique Saron, than you were the previous year, and you could leave more of the work to him, and probably in truth you had more of a margin in your bike than you had the previous year.
Yeah, because funny as though, Yamaha took a step backwards this year. Honda went forward with their VFR 750, and we've got had a faster bike and lighter, and Yamaha went backwards. Well, had a slower bike.
Jolly good news for you, I imagine.
Well, it made the job easier.
A really interesting thing is that between that pair battling for 3rd and 4th place and Kevin Magee on 8, Neil Robinson, Ian Swift, and on 2, John Pace, is very little space at all. They are all quite close together with about 6 or 8 seconds.
So Robbie Phillips had just passed?
Yes, indeed it is.
Yes, yeah.
Indeed it is. Robbie Phillips on 10. He was a dispirited man this morning. He put a lot of damper units into the bike. Tried probably half a dozen over the weekend, and he felt really, and I suppose in the back of his mind, that fall at Oran Park where it was a rider trying to compensate for the bike, trying to go too hard. Probably the man thought, well, it just really is too hard. And, everybody recognises Robbie Phillips' enormous ability. He's a shrewd head, but a very fast rider. He led the international field in the opening laps last weekend in the Coca-Cola Challenge. And Wayne, you've seen him in various Swan Series, lit out on a superbike in front of Grand Prix bikes and be a very, very hard man to catch and pass.
Well, he's had certainly good rides in his time, but after a big fall as he did on Park, it does knock the edge and the confidence right off you, and it takes time to build that back up. I'd say for sure by the time the 6 hour comes, he'll be right back in there and up with the front runners again.
Robert Holden, one of the many people who'll be challenging that, as we see Michael Dowson in the pits, just finishing off his pit stop, pulling out now. That was the bike that was 8th place when he called in, and there's Michael Dowson again trying to get some numbness out of his backside and some movement and some blood flow into his legs and thighs. It's lovely to be able to stand up, Wayne, isn't it? And just stretch the muscles a bit.
Yeah, you bet. It's nice to finish the race, believe me. That's the best part.
You sounded a bit like that at one stage at Suzuka when a very keen Japanese girl was trying to interview you and to suggest that you mightn't win with the bike and the position that you had. As we look at bike number 1, and that is in 7th place at the moment, but doing a tardy pit stop. Yes, you sounded as though the sooner the 8 hours is over, the better.
Well, you know, like I said, it's a hard race because the length of it and also the temperature, but this year was much easier than last year, and I just wanted to get the race over and done with and get back to GP racing back at Silverstone.
As bike 1 comes out, and immediately behind him when he pitted was Robbie Phillips on bike number 10. That's the next bike on the road, so in 8th place. The real interest now is that it is within 25 seconds of the 2-hour mark. And we saw Malcolm Campbell, who's just gone past now the start-finish line. We saw him come in and pit pretty much on the 1-hour mark, and he will do in the 2 hours, or very close to it. It's coming up 2 hours now. As we look at Michael Dowson, and he's in second place, as you can see. Malcolm Campbell, the race leader. Robert Holden, then Paul Feeney, that's Suzuki, Kawasaki. From Yamaha's Kevin Magee in 5th place outright. Then behind them is Ian Swift, Neil Robinson on 8, followed by John Pace on 2, and Rod Cox on 1, the 2 Mattage team bikes. Robbie Phillis, and then on number 24 is Jeff Paul as Feeney from 4th place. From that battle with Robert Holden, comes into the pits. Let's see what sort of a job Team Kawasaki Australia can do. He wanders in fairly nonchalantly, really, doesn't ram it up to the stop mark. Neville Doyle, Greg Hansard's former mentor and team manager and chief preparer, the man in whom Greg had enormous trust. Some fluid, rear wheel still going.
Doesn't look in too much of a hurry, does he?
I don't know if they'd even finished the rear wheel. It was 25 seconds. It was a nonchalant stop in various ways.
Yeah.
He comes out just in front of Michael Dowson. Michael Dowson goes by.
It's interesting because I think the first 4 places are all 4 different manufacturers.
Yes, there's plenty of variety in it indeed.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yes, and the other one I expect to come in fairly soon will be Malcolm Campbell. And the interest is that Malcolm here, the race leader, just lapping Team Scottish Racing, Neil Masson, David Bannantine. It will be Neil Masson, the 30-year-old Scot, who came firstly to Perth and settled there and then came across to the east, now living at Bondi in Sydney. Malcolm Campbell will be just outside the 2 hours to complete that 45 laps an hour. It's still going well towards the record distance, 4 or 5 laps faster or further than last year. Into the pits, bike number 8. They were 4th place when they pitted. Robinson and Swift, both of them practicing at 118.1. And here's the race leader, Malcolm Campbell. Malcolm Campbell with a big lead. 2nd place is Robert Holden. His shadow in a lot of this race. The last stop, some fluid.
Rossman's Honda t-shirt there.
Yes. Well, hand them out everywhere. As we see the Robinson Ian Swift bike go out. Not a bad stop, it's about 21 seconds. He comes out and looking back over his shoulder to see who's in the near vicinity. He doesn't see bike 7, Robert Holden, who's here now. So Malcolm Campbell retained his lead. And in 3rd place, Kevin Magee's just gone by. So that was great work by Team Honda Australia and by Malcolm Campbell to retain the lead for their 2nd and last pit stop. And down in the pits, John Smales.
Well, team manager of the Honda team is Clyde Woofin, and Clyde, 2 perfect stops for Malcolm Campbell.
Yeah, we're going real good, John. We were 48 odd seconds in front of 2nd when we came in. Hopefully we only lost about 40 seconds, so we should be still in front when Malcolm went back out onto the track.
Malcolm seemed very agitated in that pit stop.
Nah, he's just anxious to get it over. He wants to stay in front, wants to be there at the end.
Well, what does it mean in points at the moment?
I'm not real sure, John. I haven't sat down and worked it out. I don't know.
From your viewpoint, the bike's looking good, Clyde?
Yeah, running real well. Got a new tyre for the last hour. It's up to Malcolm. He can go for it.
And into the pits from 5th place, bike number 2. That's John Pace's bike, Mattage Racing. He's putting, well, John Pace back onto the bike. Ben Middlemas done a good middle stint of the race. John Pace, who should be a fraction quicker, getting back into the bike. Pace qualified at 18.6, Middlemas at 19.0, so 0.4 of a second, which probably lengthens a little bit as the rider gets tired towards the end of the stint.
Well, it does, of course. That's qualifying times, and that's, you know, everything they can give. So they're not going to keep to those times all the time.
No, but the margin between riders probably lengthens a bit too.
That's true, yeah. It'll be interesting, I think, to see what does eventuate.
Off towards the fast sweep under the Dunlop Bridge, fairly modest on this occasion, as Malcolm Campbell swooping round the back of the section of the track under the Dunlop Bridge, up to IPEC corner. Fairly fast corner, Wayne?
It is, believe me. That's my favourite corner, as they say. IPEC is a hard corner to get right. The most important thing is, I think, the exit more than the entry.
A bit bumpy there. Malcolm Campbell fell the previous year, and you fell last year in the Swan Series.
Yes, I think it's just possibly, as you mentioned, the bumps. There's a certain one dip there where it does send the bike off sideways and spinning and so on, which upsets the traction and the handling of the bike. But I think if you play it fairly safe through the first initial part and then gas it on the exit.
So that's second placed. Robert Holden, bike number 7, swooping under the bridge. Big task, pit stop in front of him. Malcolm Campbell and Honda in front of him, and Malcolm with his last pit stop done.
Yeah, Malcolm is going to be hard to stop now.
54 minutes remain in the race. And in behind bike 7, Robert Holden, Kevin Magee, and so Malcolm Campbell and Honda, the V4 750, really at this race proving very difficult as they go past number 32, John Bastermeyer. And back into the pits, John Pace. Travelling slowly and with some sort of a problem, I'm fairly certain. Only one lap after they swapped riders to Pace from Ben Middlemas.
Robert up on the medium strip again. He uses every bit of the road.
He sure does. He's got Kevin Magee right behind him. That's why he's using it all. There's Magee just looming in, not very far behind him. This is a battle for second place. There's the Yamaha bike, the Dayglow orange leathers. A new set went west last weekend when Magee used them to look after his skin in a 250 kilometre-an-hour crash. And there he is, charging up into second place, Yamaha on Suzuki. So one way and another, Robert Holden's had a busy time. He's been doing his best to assault Malcolm Campbell, and he's been assaulted by a fair number of other people. Neil Chivas on Suzuki, but an assortment of Yamahas at various times. And this one, perhaps the fastest and most determined of them all, goes into second place, Kevin Magee.
Without a lot of effort, that was. He did it quite easily. So
perhaps caught him napping, I suspect.
Possibly, it's hard to say.
Gaythorne Yamaha in front, Michael Dew and Greg Scales leading the 500 class, 38. Magee really on the run on the charge as Malcolm Campbell comes down the straight. We'll give you gaps this time, but it's a big gap to this man chasing, now up into second place. Holden determined to go with him.
Yep, he's going to try and stay with him, I'd say.
The lead, 13.35 to Malcolm Campbell. And Kevin Magee doesn't have another pit stop. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. No, he's made 2. He made one at half hour and at an hour and a half.
Yeah, so...
No, he will have one more. Yes, he's got a third one to do. Well, can he get into the lead before he does it? Sometime in the next half hour. And there's second place, and he third place at least, Robert Holden. He certainly has another stop to do. So, the man who's headed for Sugo next weekend is on the charge, nevertheless, this weekend.
As I said, he's a true racer. He's out there and he gives it everything every time he goes out there. And I think there's quite a number of other riders, and yet some riders aren't like that. They go out and they will save themselves. But Kevin's certainly a real trier.
Oh, he is. He's got an enormous amount of talent.
and has a slide there and up onto the bank and back off.
That doesn't worry him, though.
Well, that's good. You know, I mean, that's probably the sign of a lot of natural talent, and maybe he's going to go a lot of places.
Pulling a little bit of ground on Holden. As you can see, Holden finally comes into picture. But there's the gap building up about a second. That's significant. And I reckon the young man really is on the run.
Well, for John Pace, problems in the pits for the second of the Maddocks team, Bakes. What's wrong, John?
It's a bit hard to say at the moment. Our chief mechanic, David Cullen, hasn't quite located it. It may be something to do with a fuel blockage or the air cleaner element being sucked into the carburetors. I think it's only something very silly that's causing the problem, because it does clear itself on that lap that I took it for just then after the pit stop. But going down the back straight, it did cough and splut like there was, you know, something in the carburetor. They're just checking over the electrics at the moment, because the electrics can play some funny things on a motorcycle, as you know, and as a lot of other teams know. But hopefully they can find it and we can sort of remedy it and get out there and finish the event.
Well, John, if you don't, there's a man sitting up in the central commentary position at the moment who I'm sure would be glad to see you. Wayne Gardner.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him. Actually, I haven't caught up with him since he's been back, but I can't wait to congratulate him on his efforts that he's obtained this year, and I've been rooting for him all year.
Thanks, John.
Thanks very much, John. That was quite a nice compliment. It'll be good to see you later and have a quiet beer and have a chat about what's happened here and what I've done overseas. So it's a shame that the bike has given a miss for you today, but there's another race in a couple of weeks. In fact, another week, the 6 hour and
2 weeks.
2 weeks, sorry.
James Hardy next weekend, then the 6 hour.
That's right. So it'll be good. I'm sure you'll go good at there again, and hopefully you can win this time.
And an enormous...
Sorry, well, maybe second beyond my team.
An enormous amount of major motorsport on at the moment. The Wind Safari finishing in Darwin today, being led by Andrew Cowan. Alan Cunningham riding Yamaha and that, holding fourth outright up until yesterday. And he'll be there for the 6 hour. As Malcolm Campbell comes by, he did lengthen his lead slightly over the previous lap over Kevin Magee. It went out from 13.35 seconds to 13.92. Magee coming up to the line now, and Campbell still pulling time on him. It's 14.6. So the best graces of Kevin Magee. There's nothing he can do about this combination. The Launceston builder, the wiry, nuggety, very lean and fit Malcolm Campbell. A man who, under the right conditions, would be interested in going to Europe.
It's not bad for an old man, as they say.
Yes, well, that's what Robbie Phillips said about him yesterday as well. He's not keen to ride Suzuki in Europe, but as you may probably do know, Wayne, at one stage, Roberto Galino, who was here in the last year's Swan Series and will probably be back this year, perhaps testing the new Suzukis, at one stage he was thinking of going Honda for next year, and Malcolm was very interested on the basis that he was running Honda.
Well, there still is a possible chance. I have heard all sorts of stories on the grapevine that Roberto is talking with Suzuki, of course, but also with Honda and Yamaha. So well, it'll be interesting to see what does eventuate from that.
HB are very keen for him to get into a more competitive bike than the Suzuki, and they'd like to see him pick up Yamahas. It's going to cost him a lot of money to do it, but if he doesn't, he recognises that it's going to be a learning year with Suzuki.
Yeah, but I think Malcolm's possibly leaving his run a bit late. I mean, he's now 34 or something, so he's possibly left his run in Grand Prix racing a little bit too late, because they're a lot younger now, and a lot younger guys are coming out with a lot of natural ability.
Yes, and of course, though he did something last year in the Swan Series under two circumstances that helped him. He had the best of the Honda V3 Grand Prix engines in his NS 500. Then he had a wet race at Oran Park where your peakier power V4 was very hard to ride on a stop-start accelerative circuit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, here where you had a tyre problem and crashed.
Yeah.
But not many people, nevertheless, for all that, he rode very hard and fast.
Yes. He did, he rode good.
And he took 2 rounds from you. And not many riders have beaten you this year in the World Championship.
No, he rode exceptionally well, and, you know, he got a good performance, and I think he was pretty happy with his riding too.
Yes, he is. I think Malcolm's pretty fired up, pretty keen to prove that these young colts like Kevin Magee are no better than he, despite 8 years to his disadvantage. Kevin Magee losing a little bit of ground to him. I'll give you a count on it at the moment. Robert Holden still holding 3rd place. But Magee, going out a long way this time. In fact, 17.6, so, and 2.46 to Robert Holden. So the gap first to second and then on to 3rd, lengthening. And in 4th place, it's Michael Dowson, Magee's teammate. 5th place, number 6, Paul Feeney, the Kawasaki. He's followed by, on 8, Neil Robinson, Ian Swift. On 10 by Robbie Phillis. And on 24 by Jeff Paul on the Drummond Motorcycles entry of a Suzuki GSXR 750. Malcolm Campbell's front end just working a bit hard there. We've got 8th place, number 24, Jeff Paul. A name that's been around motorbike racing for a long while. Doesn't generally attract a lot of attention up front, but a very consistent runner. No points on the board at the moment in the production races that have gone on this year. But doing well in this one, 8th place at the moment. The first 98 laps of the race, 2 hours 10 minutes, almost 2 hours 11, run at an average with 2 pit stops of 143.6 kilometres an hour. So they really are hammering. A modern...
Yeah, it's a hard pace.
Oh yeah, production race bikes, very quick. Exemplified even more by Isle of Man, where the GSXR 1100 Suzuki, a later bike than this, with none of the high-speed wiggles and unsettled sort of handling of the bike. They took the first 8 placings and they averaged 180 kilometres an hour, the winning bike.
That's, as I was saying, that's nearly how close they are to becoming racing machines.
Yes, nearly. Grand Prix bike time,
that's
not long ago.
And as you can see, that's where they come from, is from Grand Prix bikes and super bikes. And the production machines are very, very fast and rapid machines. And sometimes I wonder, you know, what are the Japanese doing producing them so fast? And in fact, in Europe, Honda just brought out a new bike called a CBR 1000, which is a 170 mile an hour motorcycle, which is, you know, sometimes I think absolutely crazy.
Yes, you would wonder. That's
yeah.
That is very quick indeed.
Especially when the speed limit's 100 Ks, as I found out 2 days ago. I got booked.
Did you?
I did, yes, I certainly did. I got booked.
Didn't the policeman watch SBS?
No, he didn't. He didn't take too kindly to me doing it at all.
Didn't he?
No, I was on my way up to Oran Park to test the little Formula Ford, and I was in a little bit of a hurry. I was doing 130 Ks, and I was in my Porsche, and now you wouldn't believe it, but my license ran out last month. And I didn't realise, because I just got back from Europe 2 days ago, and I told him. He said, well, that's got nothing to do with me, and he gave me a couple of nice tickets, and he says, have a nice weekend. I said, thank you very much.
Dreadful tale of woe. Well, frankly, I'll defend you, because you could sit on 130 with absolute immunity in almost anywhere in Europe and England on those sorts of roads, and nobody would take the slightest notice.
That's
and
exactly
in the sort
right.
of car you're in, with your ability, you've broken the law, sure, but you have not in any way, in my opinion, driven dangerously. No, and I think it's silly.
You know, that's the law, and they didn't take too kindly to it.
No,
so,
well, there's a big clampdown on at the moment, of course. So to do it properly, I suppose, you've got to get out onto a racetrack like Malcolm Campbell here in some fairly thick traffic, but pulling ground all the time on Kevin Magee in 2nd place, on Robert Holden 3rd, so Honda from Yamaha, from Suzuki. In 4th place, Yamaha of Michael Dowson. 5th place is the Kawasaki of Paul Feeney. 6th place, then, the Ian Swift, Neil Robinson bike number 8 followed then by the Matich Racing Rod Cox bike, really the number 2 bike in the team in terms of the way they qualified, but with the problems of number 2 picking up 7th at this stage and well ahead of the other bike that has gone back out. Then it's Robbie Phillis on 10 and 24 that we were looking at just a while ago, Jeff Paul. All of them following this man. All of them desperately trying to find a way to catch him. And nobody seems to have an answer. You see 24 there is lapped. He's in 10th place. So Malcolm Campbell's lapped all but 8 of them. Only 9 bikes on the same lap as this man, the race leader. And this man's completed 104 laps.
He's doing a very good job, that's for sure. He's put a nice package together.
Yes,
now. He's got quite a handy lead.
Well, he's 7/9ths of the way through the race. 2 hours and 20 minutes, just 40 minutes remaining. And he's blitzed the field, quite frankly.
He certainly has.
But it's not going to be good enough, I don't think, to haul in Kevin Magee. It won't be. Campbell, 23 points for this win, on top of 15 that he has, would go to 38. Magee has 24 plus 18 would be 42. The surprise is Robert Holden, who's holding down 3rd place, will be equal on 38 with Malcolm Campbell, but Campbell would take precedence through having won 2 races. So it's pretty close in the series.
He's trying. As you can see the front move away, then he just pushed it slightly away and regained it. So Malcolm is trying certainly hard still. He's not giving in until he sees that checkered flag.
Yes, he doesn't like slackening off the pace. Only 2 weeks away. This is a fine sorting out session for the big one, the 6 hour at Oran Park. And he's putting in all the effort he can find. Same too with his team Honda Australia crew. And just in behind them also, behind Campbell, is bike number 8, which he's now lapped. So he's in fact going through a fair deal of the field. He only in fact has Kevin Magee, Holden, Robert Holden, Kevin Magee going by now, then Michael Dowson and Paul Feeney that he hasn't yet lapped. So Feeney will be the next man that he encounters in terms of the major front runners. So a fairly devastating pace. And I reckon if you called him old or a veteran, Wayne Gardner, and he hears about it, he'll be right into you.
He possibly will. But I've got to admire him. He's done a good job this year, and if he holds it together for this race, it'll be another notch on his gun belt, as I say.
Yes, well, in fact, what I was saying earlier about Roberto Galina is that if he went to Yamaha next year, Campbell, he'd probably say it very cautiously, or mightn't even admit to it at the moment, but he'd be more interested in riding a Yamaha in Grand Prix in Europe than he would be riding a Suzuki. And that could tempt him, although he has had a long and very happy association with Honda, and he'd certainly be very happy to stick with them.
Yes, the most important thing is getting the right machinery for Europe and for Grand Prix. It's important to have the right team behind you also, but the most important thing is getting on with Europe, understanding the people and the money and travelling and understanding the bike in 4 short sessions. So it's a big package to put together. If
you can put a percentage on that, what part would you say that is of the racing, of the off-track pressures, of helping sponsors and so on? And we come back to that in a moment as 3rd place, number 7, Robert Holden, into the pits. This is his final stop. This is the 3rd place Suzuki behind Yamaha of Kevin Magee, Honda of Malcolm Campbell, and with Michael Dowson and his Yamaha in 4th place, the man who can grab the placing from him. As he fires his engine, Dowson comes down the straight, and in fact Dowson would only be about 4 seconds in front of him at very most, but he is now, there he is, flashing through just in the foreground of picture there, and you see Paul Feeney behind him. So that is his position on the racetrack, just behind Michael Dowson, and just in front of Paul Feeney. Has Feeney got him? He has. So that's a placing forward for the green Kawasaki. He's up to 4th place. Back to 5th goes Robert Holden, out of third, sorry, behind Kevin Magee.
Does Paul Feeney have to pit anymore, or has he finished?
Knew you'd ask something like that.
Sorry about that, Will. I don't like to throw in hard questions, but, you know, that
he shouldn't have to. I don't think he should.
I don't think he should either.
I think Feeney has done 2 stops. We might get John Smales to check that down there and feed it back to us, but I think he's done his 2 stops, in which case it's a battle royal potentially between him and Robert Holden for 4th place.
We'll see who crosses the checkered flag first here. The new Kawasaki 750 looks a lot like their KR 250 in styling and cowling design and so on. It looks quite a tidy little bike.
So Michael Dowson's not very far in front, and then it's Feeney, and then it's settling in on his bike is Holden. There's probably about nearly 3 seconds between each of them as Campbell motors across the start-finish line. And so Campbell from 2nd place Kevin Magee
is quite a way.
Is a long way.
Yes.
And Kevin has a stop to do. So Kevin, I don't think, unless Campbell blows up or does something disastrous, isn't going to Sugo with a win under his belt. 23 seconds. 23 seconds Campbell to Magee.
In fact, at Sugo, I think Randy and Mike Baldwin are racing there on their
as well.
YZR 500s.
Because I know Satoshi Sugimoto is running, and so too is Christian Saron. So he's got some quality there. Christian's a hard charger.
Yeah, Christian just finished 2nd in the 24-hour race, and his brother won the race, Dominic.
Rod Cox. Sorry, that's Michael Dowson. Michael Dowson is the M1, and he's in 3rd place. Yes, well, we saw that the other night on SBS's Wednesday night sports show. And in fact, Christian wandering off to have a look at the girl with the snake.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Which is a Le Mans attraction as well.
Oh, right. Yes, Dominic used the same bike we use in the 8 hour, so that's 2 wins for that particular machine. So it's been a very, very good and reliable bike.
Yes. Will we see Tyra on a 500 bike next year?
The word is it's got around at the moment that, yeah, he is going Grand Prix 500 racing next year. He spent the first year 250 this year, and his performance he put up at Suzuka, which is his home circuit, of course, he did very well, and so I'm sure he'll be right there next year.
Well, the story is, of course, the background to it that he won the last round at the Misano San Marino Grand Prix in the 250 class, his first win for the season, and then he went on to have that battle with you, and he had the Yamaha that just ate you up down the straights.
Just slightly,
but,
yes.
And your bike was off tune too, wasn't it? It wasn't too healthy when they put it on the dyno after the race.
No, in fact, they put it on the dyno, Jerry said to me, and it was only producing 126 horsepower, which was way down on the Yamahas, and apparently one cylinder seized up on the 2nd or 3rd lap. So he said it probably would have only lasted 2 more laps and blew to pieces, so I was lucky to finish the race at all.
Rather nice that it hung together, because the reliability record of all the Grand Prix machinery is fantastic.
Yes.
As we see Michael Dowson sweeping under the bridge. He's 3rd place. Kevin Magee's 2nd. Give you the brakes next lap. They've completed 111. They're on 112. The winning race distance last year was 128, but that will be demolished. And the defending team is the Matich Racing team. They were looking for a 3rd win on the road, because last year it was Richard Scott and Paul Feeney on an FZ 750 Yamaha, the same as this bike we're watching on Michael Dowson. In '84, Len Willing and Jeff French won on a Kawasaki GPZ 900, the sort of bike that Paul Feeney has forsaken for the new GPX 750. And this is a race that way back in 1977 won by Ron Bolden, John Warrion on a Ducati.
Yeah.
Not a lot of production races that Ducatis have won, but the first time it was held, won by that combination, the man who in Sydney now, quite a businessman, Ron Bolden, with a number of interests, including selling Ducatis, but his motorcycle business is but a small part of the activity of Ron Bolden, who I think one day will be in the front page of the Financial Review. He's, or perhaps the front page of the sporting pages, because he's well into horses.
He'll probably take over BHP or something like that. Will be the next thing. It'll be Robert Holmes at Courtspan.
This man's future is all concentrated in one direction. Goes back to his country place in Horsham, caravan with his wife. He's expecting a baby early next year. And professional motorcycle racer.
His one idea is what, making money or?
No, racing bikes.
Oh, racing bikes.
If he makes money out of it, well, then that's fine. But it's really been a meteoric rise for Kevin Magee. And in fact, he's doing a fair achievement, because he came out of that European class of Ducatis and BMWs and was recognised there. He went so fast. He got round Oran Park in 15s on a Ducati, which really is honking
it's
very
not
fast.
Hanging around, is it?
No,
yeah.
It isn't. And in fact, there's not been many people who've ever done that. Neil McKenzie, that's coming out to ride for you, a similar sort of achievement, 15.3 on the carbon fibre Armstrong 250.
That's right.
Last year's Swan Series or supporting races.
I think it just goes to show that they have just got raw talent, that it has to be then moulded into the right sort of preparation and using that talent.
Nigel Bryan, the man on 33, being hauled in, dispatched by Kevin Magee. And looking then, bike number 2. Well down in the field. This is the bike that had problems, came back into the pits with pace, handed back to Middlemiss, as we then look at Magee. And that's the race situation after 2.5 hours. So 30 minutes remain for the riders that must be becoming very weary. And 113 laps have been completed. So about 22 laps likely in the last half hour, which would have taken it out to about the 134 laps mark. And that will be 6 up on last year, and that's a remarkable race speed. So in other words, Kevin Magee, but for the absence of Malcolm Campbell, would have won the race and beaten the race record by a considerable margin.
That's quite a jump in 12 months. Very big.
It's enormous, because we're not even dealing with particularly new machines. The Honda is, the Yamahas are not, and they've picked up 5 laps or something,
yeah.
You know, same bike.
I think there's possibly a good understanding of the machine, 12 months to actually understand it more and work on suspension, and also tyres are improved. So it's very good. It's great to see. And it's good to see there's been no major injuries and no serious falls today. That's the best part.
Been a very clean race. Always makes me very happy when you see a hard race, a very fast one, but free of problems. That's what we see at Oran Park too in the 6 hour. As Magee goes by 25 seconds in arrears to Campbell. And then to Dowson, we'll give you the gap in just a moment. Campbell's lead 25 seconds over second place Kevin Magee.
It's going to be pretty hard to catch up in 30 minutes or so.
Yes, well, it really isn't on. No. Different circumstances. If this was the race of the year, the most important race in Kevin Magee's schedule, he might be having a crack at it, but it's not. He's got to reserve himself, and in fact,
yes,
he's headed for series win anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's possibly what he's got in mind, is just to win the series.
It's 44.28 seconds to third place Michael Dowson. In fact, Campbell very shortly will be on to Michael Dowson, who's now fourth. In fact, he's got yes, there we see it. I thought that was Paul Feeney. In fact, it's on 17. Brisbane Kawasaki, Team Green, Rob Newbigging and Neil Cubitt. But it won't be long before Campbell starts to find out, or to pick up Paul Feeney. Team Green sticking grimly to Campbell, but they've met a special brand of match in the man on the metallic white Honda, who's just really into a flow and rhythm at this stage. Wouldn't be thinking of gears and braking points or anything, Wayne, would he?
No.
He'd just be... on the march.
He's in that set pattern, as I said to you, which you pick up probably after about half an hour, 1 hour of riding the bike. You're in the set pattern, you know what gear every corner. It just becomes, you're doing it automatically, really. It's just like a pattern you're set into. So it's an unusual thing, but once it starts, it's good to keep in that.
Malcolm Campbell not far in front of him. Paul Feeney, Michael Dowson. So devastating pace. Hooking under the bridge after a top speed run of about 240 kilometres an hour, probably even at this late stage, being cautious and conservative, probably something like 220, which means that a Grand Prix bike on slicks, Wayne Gardner, when you were sliding and getting it sideways like a speedway bike last year, enough to make a normal person's jaw drop, must have been going through at 240 or something?
I'd say, yeah, around about, it could be a good 20 or 30 kilometres up on a production bike. So I'm glad I don't have a speedo on my bike, because I'd probably frighten myself to death reading it.
Yes, it was fairly awe-inspiring. I know car racing guys who keep watching the tape and saying, dear oh me, I wouldn't be going to do that on four wheels, and you wouldn't want your car to do it. Leo Gagan said that to me, Bob Muir, and they're flabbergasted.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, they're tipping their hats to the people like you who can do it, because I think you're a pretty special breed. Your control of machines, your relaxation at high speed is fantastic.
That's what you become accustomed to, and it's what I've been brought up with. I've been racing bikes for a long time, and when you first go out, it frightens you, but after that, it's fairly casual about it all.
Malcolm Campbell is 11.5 seconds from picking up Michael Dowson and Paul Feeney, who are in fourth and third place in order. So in other words, it's Feeney third, Dowson fourth. What the other point I was going to add to that, Wayne, was that a lot of people feel, that particularly people controlling motorcycle racing in Australia, the Autocycle Union, that the good training, the good way to start is how you did it, and a lot of other people, dirt short circuit. You get used to a bike moving about, sliding.
That's right.
And you get the feel of it.
That's exactly right. That's how Kenny and Randy and all the big names now, Eddie Lawson, you name it, have come from, dirt tracking. It's where you get to understand what the bike is going to do. On dirt, you don't have to panic if it does move on the tar, and you know how to control and understand these sort of situations. So it is a good way to start, and I'd say for anybody who wants to go into road racing, who is young and has got any idea, is first go out and ride on the dirt and get used to that and understand why the bike does things, then progress from there into road racing.
Well, I think that's pretty good advice. As I say, plenty of people reckon it's the way to go, and certainly there's performances and achievements by people who started that way that suggest it is the right way to get going, to learn the skills at more moderate speeds and to exaggerate them, so that if you do really get into a nasty big slide at much higher speed, then you're relaxed about it. It's often tensing up that creates the problem, isn't it? It's what makes drivers and riders tired.
It's overreacting. I think that's where you've got to actually understand and relax about it all. And of course, my bike drifts. It's not a big thing to me no more. It's a nice feeling. I enjoy actually the bike sliding. And I think it's come from dirt riding, exactly as I said. And also I like driving my car sometimes. I don't tell this too often, but I actually drive my car sideways sometimes, and it's really enjoyable.
All legally, of course.
Of course. I mean, on a racetrack, that's what I mean.
Yes, well, you've got some nice cars to drive these days, haven't you? You've got your rear-engine Porsche here and your front-engine Porsche in England.
Yeah, and Honda Prelude and a couple other cars, yeah. I've quite lucky now. I've enjoyed it.
A long way forward from the days as what, a fitter and turner in Wollongong?
That's right, yeah. I used to have my HQ utility and go to races and that. And when I first went to England, I had a 120-pound Austin 1800.
And to her eternal credit, it's the same pretty girl that's going around with you, who's now blinking through her glasses as she reads. And Daniel Steele changes. Goodness me, I know nothing about it.
Donna's into reading Jackie Collins' books.
Oh, my goodness. No, I know something about her mind anyway. So, the Shell Oils fourth round, final round, here at Surfers Paradise, with Robert Holden in 7, holding down 5th place. And coming to a close. It's 2 hours, 40 minutes coming up in about 3/4 of a minute time. And the race situation is Malcolm Campbell, Honda, leading from Yamaha's Kevin Magee, from Kawasaki's Paul Feeney, from Yamaha's Michael Dowson, then this man, Robert Holden, Suzuki. Then it's a lap down to 8, Neil Robinson, Ian Swift, and to Yamaha, Rod Cox, 24, Jeff Paul, and then to Robbie Phillips, 10 on another Suzuki. And that's 5, that's the first 10. And there is the battle between 7 and 1 as Holden, the charger in this race, goes forward again, picks up a placing. And he never has finished racing, has he? Robert Holden, the quiet New Zealander, the quiet Kiwi. And we've seen Richard Scott, who's coming back to defend his 6-hour title. And we've seen him go over, Wayne, and go very well in super stock in England, haven't we? And Robert Holden, I think, is a man of the same sort of ability.
Yes. I'd like to see Robert come over and do well, because I know he's got the natural raw ability there. It's just harnessing it and putting it all together. And also, you know, taking a big leap and go overseas and try it.
Yes, it's a big leap. It's a big commitment. I mean, you felt pretty empty in the stomach the day you were leaving first time, didn't you?
Yes, well, at that day, my girlfriend, Donna, and my mum and dad actually had to push me on the plane, and I was all full of tears, and I didn't want to go, and it was a terrible day. But I'm glad it was the best thing they ever did for me, was send me, and I had to grow up very fast in 12 months, and from then I've never looked back, and I've enjoyed it. And I'm glad they did it that day, pushed me on.
Well, when you say growing up, I think you have, but I mean it in the nicest way, in that you've handled the off-track pressures, I think, superbly. On track, you've put in tremendous performances, and the credit to Australia. And we see Malcolm Campbell, 12.4 seconds. So, in fact, second and... that's good, you're hiding the shadow there. Third and fourth and fifth place are holding out Malcolm Campbell as they're getting a spurt on through this man, Robert Holden. Robert Holden up to fourth. The man he'd like to see the tail of now, to have a crack at, would be Paul Feeney. Lovely sunny day. The local experts were right. It hasn't rained. It's cleared. The sun's out now. Very bright. Brightest part of the day. There's Feeney. Now, that's the man that, if Robert Holden's to improve any further, it's the man he has to catch. So while Campbell might have the race well and truly sewn up, which indeed he has, barring misadventure.
Well, speaking of children earlier on, I'd just like to say hello to all the children of the Cystic Fibrosis Association. Hope they're enjoying the race, and a big hello from me.
Well, that's great, and if you can do anything to help people like that, which I know you are doing, well then,
yes.
Tremendous.
Yeah. Oh.
Somebody out hit the dirt. They didn't do anything, thank goodness, right where Malcolm Campbell came by. And so Paul Feeney under pressure in third place, Robert Holden chasing. So Kawasaki fending off Suzuki in front, Yamaha in second place, Honda in first. So all 4 Japanese brands represented in the first 4 placings. That really does say they're very even, doesn't it?
That's what I was saying earlier, and that's the best news that really could happen. It's good to see not one brand dominating. It's good to see they're all very, very close.
Yes, well, Paul Feeney, look at that. That's fourth. Feeney, the man he's chasing, is in third. And I suspect we might see a Suzuki go forward a place, Wayne.
It looks like
going
that
to
way.
Be tight. We're coming up to 2 hours and 44 minutes and 122 laps, which is 6 laps short of the previous race record distance. And there's 1.13 seconds between third place and this man in fourth. Holden doing just a superb job. He really hasn't lain down all day, hasn't given up. the limited edition Suzuki GSX-R 750. A nervous bike that some road testers have been cautious about running up to maximum speed, the normal 750, because it really does move around a lot. It makes a few people fairly nervous. This one, longer rear swing arm, dry clutch on the right-hand side, a little ventilated cover there. Slightly different handlebars or fork crown.
Yeah, the longer swing arm would give it stability in a straight line. That's what they've tried to do by the sounds of it.
It's 2.5 centimetres, so fairly significant. And that's the race situation. Quarter of an hour remaining. 123 laps completed, so the race record certainly will be beaten. And Feeney being chased by Holden. Michael Dowson can't do anything, and nor even can Kevin Magee, the 24-year-old brilliant rider from Horsham in Victoria, who's second to Malcolm Campbell to the Honda VFR 750. He is trying, and he is making ground.
It's a good race for third.
It's a beauty. Feeney, the inheritor last year of the Castrol 6-hour win when Len Willing crashed only 10 minutes from the end, if you can believe it. Poor old Len.
I remember it well.
You'd had a wretched day yourself at that stage.
I was going to go and tell him join the club. It was a terrible day.
Oh dear.
Those are the days I'd like to forget, and I'd like to stay in bed.
There were some funny sights of a guy wheel spinning a bike that he was walking beside and it's falling over again.
Yeah, it was rather embarrassing, believe me.
But anyway, it's all entertaining, and it is great sport, and it requires great skill. And here we're seeing a tremendous battle for third place.
As you said on skill, I don't think the average person doesn't understand how good these riders are and how fast they are riding them, because they are very, very skilled riders.
And the fitness that's in it, and
that's right.
And the whole sort of timing that all sportsmen need, the moving around on the bikes there. And in fact, Feeney going past bike 38, but holding off Holden 1.5 seconds the gap. So he's fighting back superbly.
There's not a lot in it. They're very close. I don't think he's gained too much on him.
No. This is a great battle. Quite a reliable race, actually, Wayne, of the 39 starters that kicked off in the race. But among the front runners, of course, Neil Chivas in the Suzuki that was leading the series, 28 points, gave it away. A bit disgusted, really, as well as a bit weakened by a stomach bug overnight. And as we see this battle still continuing for third and fourth. But Sir Neil Chivas was an unfortunate withdrawal. But Kevin Magee lying second in the series, Rob Holden here battling, trying to get third. And Rob Holden would clear on Malcolm Campbell if he gets up to second place, up to third place at least. Michael Dowson we're looking at. He's a way back. He's in seventh place. And so in front of him is Malcolm Campbell, is Kevin Magee, is Paul Feeney, Robert Holden.
Oh, yes,
sorry, Michael Dowson's fifth place, that's right. And then it's a lap down to, I'm getting the ones muddled up, to the Ian Swift, Neil Robinson Suzuki number 8, and to the other number 1, which is the Matic Racing, one of Rod Cox, Jeff French. So fifth place, Michael Dowson. Behind that Matic bike is number 24, Jeff Paul, and then it's Robbie Phillis on 10. Dowson round the back through a Sander corner, the corner where his superbike went porpoising at the touring car race meeting here a while ago, and it needed all his skill and determination to hang on to it. This the man who at Bathurst last year, this year, 250 kilometres an hour down the straight at least on his superbike, as we see his teammate Kevin Magee, and he's having a battle with the man who's in seventh place. That's bike number 1. So of course there's a lap between them. That's Rod Cox and Jeff French. But it was Michael Dowson who was mono-wheeling his Yamaha over the final hump at Bathurst, a good half metre off the ground at something like 250, 260 kilometres an hour. But Magee, of course, is in second place. A lap down, 7th place, the man that's in close company with him. Both of them Yamahas, these 5 valves per cylinder, tilted forward at about 45 degrees. The carburetors then stick up well, at an angle of about another 45 degrees. So the intake to the carburetors is vertical, and it's through a still air box, which looks like a petrol tank, but the petrol tank really is only the rear section of that tank. It's an air intake up front, and then the tank itself goes down really low, down over the gearbox and the starter motor of the tank, right down, getting almost towards the driver's knees. It's been the inside of his legs.
It's been quite a successful bike, the FZ750.
Has indeed. We have 1 lap for Malcolm to complete, the one that he's on at the moment, for him to equal last year's race record distance, and that will be some 9 minutes short of this race conclusion. In other words, 2 hours 51 minutes as Magee scythes his way onwards. Looking at other people who've retired, of course, we had Ian Perrow go out earlier in the race. He had a fall, and very unusual to see Ian Perrow crash under any circumstances, and certainly of his own sort of mistake. He did so last weekend, but it was water splashed on a track by another bike.
I think it just goes to show how hard the pace was set earlier on the race, and he was trying very hard to stay with them, and he overstepped it slightly. So, like I said, just goes to show you how hard the others were riding and trying.
Malcolm Campbell, as Magee comes down the straight. Kevin Magee, Malcolm Campbell had a little while before completed lap 128. So he's out now, putting extra laps on the previous race record distance, and there he is. He hasn't done very much wrong today as he comes up to lap Cyclecraft Bondi, Team Scottish Racing. Ooh! Oh dear, you say he hasn't done much wrong, and then that happens, and it happens 8.5 minutes from the end. Oh my goodness. Not a hard one to hang on to, Wayne, but not much more needed for it to be a disaster.
No, he was very close. He was on what we say the razor's edge there. And I'm sure he was swallowing hard then, because I'm sure something was creeping up his...
Let's have a look at it. Malcolm Campbell, the race leader, already passing last year's winning race distance.
Shows the tyres are starting to wear and getting to a point where, you know, it's time to take it easy. Yeah, it was quite a big one.
It was. He sat up quite a bit.
He didn't need much more than to tip off.
No. And, well, I don't know if that's Wayne Gardner's plane or SBS executives, but somebody's been having a grand time here.
I was going to say, that's your plane waiting for you, Will.
Planes all over the grass strip here in the middle of Surfers Paradise racetrack, 3.2 kilometres around. Malcolm Campbell doing a great job. And behoves him, I think, to settle down a touch and to say, steady on, come back to a very safe and certain lap time.
Well, he'd be foolish if he didn't, because with only 8 minutes to go.
7 now, 2 hours 53 completed, and Paul Feeney is being roped in 3rd place as Robert Holden cracks at him again. We'll have a look at it in a moment, but the race leader striding on his way on lap 130. He's completed 129. He comes onto the straight as the battle for 3rd and 4th place is under the Dunlop Bridge, going out in the back section of the circuit. Kevin Magee still holding down 2nd place, in behind Malcolm Campbell, but a long way in arrears. This is the battle. This is 3rd and 4th place. Unbelievable. Quite incredible motorcycle racing from Paul Feeney from Goulburn and from Robert Holden from New Zealand.
It's going to be good to the line there.
Yes, let's imagine it as a rugby test. Australia versus the All Blacks. Come on, the Aussies. But we're not biased, and we're really just seeing some very good racing, which will resolve itself of its own accord. We'll take no sides. except to say that they are two very talented riders. It's Kawasaki in third, it's Suzuki in fourth, and it is a tremendous battle. And if Feeney's gone well on this new Kawasaki, then you've got to say Robert Holden has not given up once all day in the 2 hours, 54 and a half minutes of this race so far.
The Suzuki's about the same speed as the Kawasaki, so it says a lot about the new Kawasaki. It says it's a very fast bike.
Yes, well, it is very powerful, and it's quite light. The Suzuki is a lighter bike. The Kawasaki's a more powerful one. And overall, a slightly better handling one, I suspect. This really has been a great debut, virtually the world race debut, as Malcolm Campbell comes by. We can forget him at the moment, except to say he's just completed lap 131. He'll do 133 or 4.
I think lap riders are going to play a big part in here towards the end of the race.
They might indeed, they might.
Very much.
Paul Feeney, the man who was brought down by a lap rider at Bathurst, the RI 500, did a collarbone, smiled that sort of quiet Feeney smile, and was rueful about it and accepted it. And then dumped at Oran Park, practicing for round 3 of this series on the Friday. Got on the grass, had absolutely nowhere to go, had to dump it. He kept it upright, but had to dump it to avoid objects that were looming up. And here he is, back supporting Team Kawasaki. As he changes the gear, he goes up to 6th as he goes across the start-finish line. He leaves it in that, and he doesn't want to throttle off as he goes under the bridge.
There's nothing in it between them.
There's absolutely nothing in it. It is a sensational finish to 3 hours of racing. And all I hope, I don't mind which of them wins particularly, but let's just hope that they do it safely. Nobody makes an error.
That's the most important thing.
Great stuff. As Malcolm Campbell comes by again, he completes 132. The man's going like a steam train. It's 2 hours, 56 and a quarter minutes. As Kawasaki's still third ahead of Suzuki fourth. And it's Honda first and it's Yamaha second.
Yeah, coming up on a lap rider through the S's here. So
Malcolm Campbell will put in another 2, if not 3 laps. So he's going to do something like 7 more than last year.
That's incredible. In 12 months, it's a big progress.
Oh, I'll say. Feeney doing a grand job.
He's doing a fantastic job, I think, because Robert Holden's no slouch on a Suzuki. So Paul Feeney's doing a brilliant job with that new Kawasaki.
Well, you can't time the gap between them on a stopwatch. Got Robbie Phillips between them, as you say. And Robbie will do the right thing. That's a nice break, though, for Feeney as Holden sits it up, drives it down the inside hard, brakes hard when he's sitting up nice and square, guns it onto the power early as he dare, as he blasts past Phyllis. And the race leader, Malcolm Campbell, comes by to complete lap 133. Which he does, his bike actually sounding quite flat. So this battle continues, and it's sensational. Third and fourth place, 2 bikes absolutely on the limit, 2 weary riders forcing every last ounce of speed out of them. Round the side of 4X Hill, it really is. Now Nissan, the right-hand corner. They don't even know when it'll be resolved, except, of course, they'll get the checkered flag after Malcolm Campbell's done 3 hours. He's been racing for 2 hours, 58 minutes and 20 seconds.
And they go past again.
So, and Holden almost close enough to launch himself at Feeney this time. He tries it round the outside, which I think's disastrous. Does he then tuck back and try to go down the right-hand side? Malcolm Campbell, it's going to be critical to it, whether they do another lap or not, as Feeney continues to hold him out.
As I said about back markers, that one just helped Paul a little bit against Robert. So it's going to be important to see how the back markers fare up and who gets the right run.
Here comes Malcolm Campbell to come and finish his last lap, it will be. This will bring us up to 2:59. He'll get the checkered flag next lap, I reckon. So I reckon we've got a lap and a half of this battle, because I reckon Malcolm Campbell will only do one more. That's up to the official timekeepers, but it's 2 hours 59 and 10 seconds now. And Campbell has done 134 laps. He's 6 laps up on last year. There he is.
Yeah, he's ridden a very good race. Very good.
Checkered flag is in readiness as Kevin Magee comes out onto the track again, and Feeney goes by with Robert Holden still hot on his tail. Kevin Magee will be the in close with them as the race leader Malcolm Campbell comes round, and I reckon, yes, it's only 5 seconds to the 3-hour mark now. Yes, the checkered flag's in readiness. It's being brought out. It won't be shown to Malcolm Campbell. It's shown to Michael Dowson. So Malcolm Campbell nearly dumps as he comes onto the straight. Absolutely the last corner of the race leader's thing. But he has got the checkered flag. Malcolm Campbell wins the Shell Oils 3-hour at Surfers Paradise. He comes in for the second production race win. He will not win the series. And then this tremendous battle between Paul Feeney in 3rd place and Robert Holden in 4th. Kawasaki and Suzuki continues. Kevin Magee, after a brief pit stop, still hanging on to 2nd place. He had to do that just on the... There he is. He came out of his pit stop and he's in 2nd place. And in fact, did he lose 2nd to Feeney and Robert Holden? So is Magee a 3rd one, battling in there for 2nd and what was 3rd, but now has become 2nd place. And it's Feeney 2nd.
Wow,
it's Feeney 2nd, it's Magee 3rd. In fact, Magee 4th, Robert Holden in front of him. So Paul Feeney in a sensational finish to this 4th round of the Shell Oils Production Race Series has taken 2nd place for Kawasaki, a decisive win for Honda, but Kawasaki 2nd, Suzuki 3rd, and Yamaha just on the end 4th place. Fantastic stuff, Wayne Gardner.
That was a fantastic race and brilliant towards the end between Paul Feeney and Holden. So it was a fantastic race, really good, and it was good to see that nobody was injured. It was a great race, and really my congratulations to Shell for putting on a great series this year, and I'm really pleased to be associated with Shell. So it's been a good race, and my congratulations to Malcolm Campbell. He had a good race and went very well for him.
Well, he did indeed. Thank you, Wayne Gardner, very much for helping with the commentary. We're going to see you down at the presentation in just a moment, so we'll say goodbye. And thanks for joining us in a new part of the Gardner career.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it very much.
So Malcolm Campbell returns down there, and what an effort by the tough, nuggety Tasmanian, from Paul Feeney, from Robert Holden, and Kevin Magee, who was just half a lap, perhaps 1 lap, from finishing the final, from not having to pit, and who went from 2nd to 4th place in what was an absolutely electric, unbelievable finish for the minor placings. But there's the victor, Malcolm Campbell. And he said, I don't know what it's like to do a 3-hour race around here solo. This is what he said at the start yesterday. I've never finished a race solo. He did win it 2-up several years ago, but he knows now, and he really did earn his money. ...432 laps, 432 kilometres, which divided by 3 gives us an average race speed of 144 kilometres an hour exactly, and a sensational end to the series. The story is this: Magee's pit stop at the latter part of that race has lost him the series lead, and it has made Malcolm Campbell and Robert Holden tied equally 1st place in the series. We'll hear more about it in a moment when we go to the presentation with John Smales, with Wayne Gardner, and with Bernard Wheelerhan, the General Manager of Shell Australia. While we're waiting for that, we'd like to remind you that next year on SBS Motorcycling, we are, of course, very keen to bring you the Grand Prix from Europe and the World Championship next year, but a big commitment to production racing, to superbike racing and Australian Road Race Championships, $125,000 sponsorship from Shell for those series, and a commitment from